Good morning and welcome once again to Newquay Harbour. We are here ready for race one of round one of the Men's Open Seniors Newquay County Gig Championships. And in this first round we have St Ives A in berth 1 in Ada. We have Weymouth A berth 2 in Elowin. We have Roseland A berth 3 in Speedwell. We have Mountspey A berth 4 in Bedhaven. And we have Cadgwith C berth 5 in Manacle Bell. Cadgwith A, so we've got a Cadgwith grudge match in this first round, are in berth 6 in Hope. So they are beside their club mates. Last night obviously saw Carradon crowned as the Women's County Champions. We are here today in this slightly extraordinary format due to the cancellation of the earlier competitions to see who is going to be crowned the Men's Seniors County Champions. So I'm looking down the line towards our starter Martin this morning. He's just getting some of those two Cadgwith crews on the outside to back up. We are ready and waiting for this first round to get underway. The conditions are due to be a lot nicer today for the men's open competition than it was for the women's yesterday. We got some sunshine, we got some blue sky. The winds have dropped ever so slightly. Yesterday when we were sat on the start line here, there was a real wind sort of funneling down off the town onto the water here, and they are off. So we have 6 boats in this first competition. I think we've only got, we have got all 6 out. That is brilliant. So the crew that have really gone into the lead here are Roseland A in Speedwell. So they've really pushed away from the rest of the fleet here. It's very much, we've got Hope on the outside, so that's Cadgwith A. They are pushing it up along with Speedwell, and those are the crews we would expect. And Mountspey A, really they're in quite a line behind for that third position. So again, just like the women's event yesterday, what we're expecting to see here is we're going to see the fastest 2 go through, and Cadgwith really are putting the power down now. They're beginning to move away from that Roseland boat. I've just checked their stroke rate, 36 strokes a minute, which off the start isn't ridiculous. That's pretty controlled, and we can really see a very powerful punch. Running this year, that just hasn't been possible. So this is the only time that all the crews are going to get out, and they're going to get a row today, unfortunately. Obviously it isn't what anybody would have wanted, but it's the best we could do given the fact that uniquely in the 55 year history of this event, it is the first time both the men's open and the women's have been cancelled, and they've had to run it like this on both days. So the women's competition was introduced at Newquay in 1975, and the men's open has been running since 1970. So this is the 55th year of this event being run here. Quite considerably more boats these days though than there was in 1970. I think anybody that was around at those events would be pretty impressed to see how the sport has grown in that time. So I'm looking across at Cadgwith, and they are doing a fantastic job. They're really punching up into the sea here in Hope. The Hope is a boat. She is owned by Newquay Gig Club. She is one of their newer boats. I'm just desperately flicking through my notes to find out the information about her. I've got it here somewhere, I will tell you. And then she's being followed by the Speedwell, so that's Roseland A. But to me it looks like Roseland A are doing the sensible thing here. They're not trying to fight Cadgwith. What they're trying to do is they know they're nice and clear of Elowin, and they know that there's nothing to be gained here. So yeah, the Hope, she is 2000, so she's 25 years old. She was built by the late great Ralph Bird. the 69th boat to be registered, and she's racing against Speedwell. So Speedwell, 2001, so similar age. She was built by Curragh. She's owned by Rock. She was boat number 77. So yeah, we continue to push up this first round. The crew that you've got to feel sorry for here is that of Weymouth and Elwyn, because they are rowing really beautifully up this first leg. They have moved well clear of the 3 crews at the back of the field.
It keeps dropping.
And it is also, sorry, I'm just glancing around to find them, St Ives A, who are in Ada. So Weymouth, really, we've got this sort of kind of like procession. We've got Cadgwith in the lead here, really quite clearly, and then we've got the Roseland B crew, sorry, the A crew coming in second here, but nobody's looking at all stressed. Conditions are quite interesting out here, actually. We've got, this is much more what I would say is sort of traditional Newquay conditions, actually. There's quite a bit of swell, there's quite a bit of movement. We're seeing Hope move up and down quite a bit. Jay, did you want to... Oh no, he was, sorry, I thought Jay was signalling to me that he wanted to have a chat with you guys, but he's yeah.
Keep lining up now.
Okay, so Jay's just telling me that we're gonna watch this race up until the first mark, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn back to go and watch race 2. But we're just passing, Cadgwith are just passing the umpire boat here. They're easily 3 to 4 lengths clear of Roseland, who look to be rowing in a very composed manner. I want to do a stroke rate check on Roseland, because they look to me like they are... This almost looks like Roseland's Sunday afternoon row, to be honest, because they look like they absolutely know they've done their job. Yeah, 29 strokes a minute. That tells you everything you need to know about what's going on in that Roseland boat. They're not doing anything there to stress themselves out whatsoever. We've got brothers-in-law in the bow there, in the stern, sorry. We've got Nick George and Nigel Besweatherick just controlling the rate in that boat. We're just watching Cadgwith go around that first mark. They've maybe gone a little bit wide. They will not want to do that in later rounds, but yeah, cleanly around. Seeing Roseland go around now, they're also giving the mark a fair bit of distance, but no harm done there, because they're not under any pressure. They've got Weymouth A just following them round. You can really see there what happens at this Newquay first mark, because this Newquay first mark is quite, you know, that is one of the tighter turns you will turn on the gig rowing circuit. You know, it does really take you a bit of time to get round, and this is where coxes just have to be really aware. I'm now watching Ada and Bedhaven go in. Ada has got the water there. Bedhaven's been very respectful, staying on the outside, giving them the space that they need to go round. So that Mounts Bay A cox is being really careful there with their crew. They're making sure that they're not going to get any trouble, and we just see the oars go up in the air there of Ada. So that's the crew of St Ives. They've got the more acute angle there, but Bedhaven, what they've managed to do there, so that is the crew of Mounts Bay, is they've really managed to maintain boat speed. And then we're watching the Cadgwith Sea crew, Manacle Bell, going around, knowing they're the last boat on the course. What their cox has done there, which is quite sensible, is they've really turned nice and early into the mark, so they can be sharp around it and then quick away. So maintaining boat speed while also getting that acute angle onto the second leg. So on the boat now, what we're doing is we are heading back down to watch race 2. So yeah, I mean, it's really stretching out now. Cadgwith A, they don't look under any pressure whatsoever at the front of the field, followed by Roseland. And again, we've got those typical Newquay conditions today, when we're kind of going alongside them, but we're a good sort of like half a kilometre away from them, I guess. And every now and again I can see Roseland, and then I can't as they go into the trough of a wave. Yep, I'm just watching Cadgwith. I'm keeping sight of the top of their heads, but that's absolutely it. So that second leg in Newquay is very much the sort of traditional conditions that we are accustomed to. Obviously, the surf at Newquay is what it's famous for. I'm having a look at Towan Beach now, and it's coming in. It's beautiful. It was a surfer's paradise here yesterday. The sets were rolling into Towan Beach, and everyone was there with their longboards, and you can still see that sort of that ground swell that we've got. So we are zipping back to have a look at race 2. In race 2 we have Bridport A, berth 1 in Zorn. We have Flushing and Myla B, berth 2 in Troy. We have Newquay B, berth 3 in Emma Louise. We have Ilfracombe A, berth 4 in Amazon. We have Charlestown B, berth 5 in Pegasus. And then we have Barnstable A, berth 6 in Grace. Now, I'll be honest here, when I had a look at this group, I was thinking I don't really have any clues as to who the sort of cream of the crop in this field are going to be. I think there's the potential here for some crews to go through that we wouldn't necessarily expect. So I'm just casting my eyes back, and it looks to me at the moment like Ilfracombe A are the stars of the field. They look to be in the lead in Amazon. Amazon is a boat owned by Carradine Gig Club. She is, let me have a little look, 2012. She was built by Dave Currer. She was boat number 162. She has won many a championship, World Pilot Gig Championships. Amazon. She was beloved by Carradine Gig Club she was their lead boat for quite a number of years. And here we're seeing her rowed beautifully by Ilfracombe A. I think the interesting thing here in this round is who's going to get the second position. So at the moment, we've got 3 boats in contention for that. So we've got Emma Louise, that is the crew of Newquay B. We have the Spy. Now, Spy isn't on my list, so I'm interested to know which boat we haven't got out this morning. And then we've got Grace, that's Barnstable A. So let me just have a little look. We've got, who can I see? We've got Zorn, I've got Troy. So it looks to me like Pegasus has been taken out. So we've got Charlestown B there. Oh, that must hurt a little bit to watch your boat, Grace, pulling through you on the other side. But yeah, it looks at the moment like the crew that are coming through for that all-important second spot is Barnstable A, but there's a lot to play for up this leg. We're really watching, again, Ilfracombe. I mean, what a cracking job they've done up this first leg, because they're really moving away from the field here. I mean, we're maybe halfway up the first leg, and they've got at least 3 to 4 boat lengths on the rest of the competition. I'm just going to do a little stroke rate check just to see what kind of pressure they're under this morning, and yeah, 31 strokes a minute. Again, that tells its own story. Ilfracombe are very, very considered, very controlled. Just having a look over at the technique of this boat. What's quite interesting is we haven't got a lot of reach. That seems to be sort of pretty universal in this crew. They're rowing a slightly shorter stroke, but it's a very powerful stroke. They're really dropping in and engaging those legs. You can really see great straight arm connections there from the Ilfracombe crew. So yeah, there's a lot of power in that boat. And then yeah, I'm looking back at B, so it looks like Barnstable are stamping their authority over the crew of Charlestown B. They really want this second position, but Charlestown B are not out of contention here. They're just off the stern of Barnstable. And Charlestown, you know, quite the salty sea dogs. They've been around for a long time. I think they know what they need to do here. I think they need to make sure they're in a bit of a difficult position here, because they've got the Emma Louise, which is the crew of Newquay B, just hanging off their stern. And those Newquay coxes, they're wily old foxes. They know this course really, really well. We've got Jules King there, coxing the Newquay B crew this morning, and she is going to do everything she can to see the Emma Louise's bow just inside of Spy's stern to make sure that they have the water when it comes up. And it looks like Newquay B, under the sort of eyes of Jules King there, that's exactly what they're doing. I can see Jules King. She's, you know, like you can quite often tell just by a cox's body language really what's going on, and she is absolutely driving her crew on, because they are coming up now to the umpire boat. So that work that the Newquay B crew have done up this second leg is going to be absolutely fundamental now. They've done the hard work because they're going to get the water over Charlestown. They're going to have the water. They're going to have the advantage around this first buoy. So I'm just looking forward. I can see Ilfracombe A, they have tossed the oar this morning. Really good job there by the coxswain, because bear with me, sorry. 2 days of talking is too much for my lungs. They were on their own. They took a nice wide line in it. They tossed the oar, and now they're away nice and sharply, ready to go up this second leg. So I think we're going to have an interesting situation here. Barnstable, well done. They've done a good job here to get themselves second round the mark. There we go. Emma Louise, Jules has called for the bow rower to toss the oar, so they're going to be looking for the sharp angle here. Interesting to see the Barnstable crew looking back at what's going on behind them. They must be delighted by that, because they know that if there's any amount of chaos that's going to slow down these 2 boats behind them, it just confirms their second position. So well done there to the cox of Charlestown B. They've done a fabulous job, because they were at a disadvantage there, but she really, really kept her cool. She took that wide angle round, but she maintained boat speed. And look what that's doing. That was a fabulous example. If anybody wants to look at sort of like textbook sort of scenarios of what to do if you're that Cox on the outside line, have a look at what the Charlestown Cox just did, because she played that absolutely perfectly. She did a nice wide line, which meant that she didn't get in the way of Emma Louise, and she just maintained boat speed, because though she knew that the Emma Louise, the crew of Newquay B, were going to have the advantage on the inside, she knew that the advantage she was going to have is that she could maintain boat speed. So now Charlestown B have got a job on their hands, though, because what Newquay B do have, thanks to Jules taking them so tight on that buoy and taking them on the inside, is they still have the inside water. So when it comes to this second mark, they're still going to be in the advantageous position. Now, this was exactly what happened to us last night in the women's final. If anybody watched, again, there was some really, really on the edge but ultimately successful coxing by Steve Kent in the Carradine boat last night. He took them on the inside, and they just like the Charlestown B crew are doing here, they just maintained that pressure up the inside. And then when it came to this second mark, what happened is Carradine had the tighter line around the inside mark. That gave them half a length over Foy, and that was the moment. I spoke to Jade from the Foy crew last night, and she said just at that moment, like when Carradine got that half a length up on them on the second mark, she said they just felt like they lost it. You know, they just lost their composure. Now, I'll be honest, from the outside, that absolutely did not look like what it happened. Foy continued to row absolutely beautifully from my perspective. However, Jade said in the boat she could feel that bit of rush, that bit of panic coming in, and that is sometimes a challenge for a crew. Right, excuse me, I'm just having to move out of the way of Steve. He's bringing the drone in, and I don't want to get a drone wrapped around my head. Steve managed to do that yesterday. Oh, and Jay has caught the drone. That is worthy of commentating there. Well done, Jay. Okay, so drone's back on with us, but let's have a little look. Ilfracombe A really stretched away here. They are they're the class of the field here. Well done, Ilfracombe. You can be really proud of your row this morning. It's very conservative. I spoke to my sister this morning, who was in the Helford A boat. Asked her if she was all right, and she officially tells me she is a broken woman. She said there was just too much rowing yesterday. She was very tired this morning. So that's what these Ilfracombe rowers are going to know. They're going to know they've got a long day stretching ahead of them. They've got much more rowing to do. I really hope that after they come in, it's quite nice, to be honest, to be in the nice and early hat rounds this morning. They might have quite a wait to the quarter-finals, but I hope they go into Newquay and one of the many sort of cafes. There's some really nice food providers in the harbour now. This is the difference from when I was a child in Newquay. When I was here watching my parents row in the sort of like early 90s, used to come down here. There used to be a park in the harbour. There used to be a lot of dead fish and not many cafes. Now there's a lot of cafes and not so many dead fish. It is really quite a pleasant place to spend the afternoon. So yep, Ilfracombe, Barnstable A, again they're looking pretty considered here, pretty controlled, and then we've still got this tussle that's going on behind between Newquay B and Charlestown A, and at the moment it looks like Newquay in the Emma Louise racing against their own boat, so a bit like Charlestown. Then they're watching the spy on the outside of them there, but they really haven't let this fight go. Absolutely not. So yeah, Ilfracombe A, they're around the second mark, nice and easy, heading in. I think today could be the sort of day when you're beginning to get a few of the sort of the groundswell conditions, which give you a little push in towards the harbour. It's going to be interesting to see if crews are trying to surf in today, which is I think it is quite possible looking at the direction that the swell's moving at the moment. Sort of surfing is one of the skills which is quite unique to us, and maybe surf boat life-saving boats. It's an interesting skill. It's one I always really enjoyed going out and training and practicing. It's unique. We sort of like used to discuss it quite a bit, and sort of like how to make the most out of surfing, and we came to this conclusion. I used to row with a woman called Kim Marie who did a lot of surf lifeboats, and she used to call it in our boat, which was always quite interesting. I'll come back to that in a minute because I'm just watching this buoy turn now. So Emma Louise have the water. Jules King's absolutely making the most of that. Oh, she's done a great job there. Well done, Jules. So she's come inside of the Charlestown boat, and that could be decisive, that move there, because there's we've got a little bit of clashing there. I think we've seen the 5 rower there just struggling to clear their boat from their oar from Newquay B, but Charlestown hung back, gave them the space, as they should do, because Newquay had worked really hard to get the water on that mark, so they deserve the space. And well done, Jules. Lovely bit of coxing there. It just shows that acute angle in the first mark, it didn't look like it was really working out for Jules, because Charlestown kept maintaining that momentum, but ultimately it gave her the inside line. Her crew managed to maintain that inside line, and that has proved decisive on the second mark. So some brilliant coxing there from both Jules, who's the cox of Newquay B, and also from Charlestown A. Did a really good job there. So well done. So yeah, surfing. Sorry, I'm going to go back to that. Now we've looked at that little bit of interest. So yeah, we worked with Kim Marie one season trying to really improve our surfing as a skill going into Newquay. And she rowed 2. What we used to do is we realised that sometimes it was the 2 and the 1 rower who were best placed to actually spot when surfing was a possibility. So Kim Marie used to give us a call, and then what we would do, it's just like surfing on a surfboard really in a gig, is what you've got to do is you've got to really pick up the stroke rate, because you've got to pick up your boat speed to match the wave. So if Kim Marie saw a wave that she thought we could catch, she would give it a shout. We'd really put in a punchy sort of like 5 to 10 strokes, try and get our boat speed up. And if you could get your boat speed up and just catch it at the perfect time, then off you went. And it wasn't actually with Kim Marie in the boat, but I remember one very memorable Falmouth training session early in my rowing career, in the early 2000s, being coxed by Helen Pascoe. And we went out to Black Rock, which is quite a row from Falmouth. It's a good sort of like 20 odd minutes out there. We turned around to do a piece back in. And we caught the most magnificent wave. It just took us all the way in to Falmouth Harbour in about 5 minutes. And Helen was like, no, we've got to turn around, we've got to go back out, we've got to train some more. She was like, that cannot be our training session. It just hasn't lasted long enough. So it was, it was one for the storybooks, if not the most effective training. So yeah, looking at Barnstable A here, just coming in, very controlled. Heading towards the harbour. They can be delighted that they've managed to get themselves into the quarterfinals later today. After a good bit of breakfast, I would have thought. Newquay B, they're looking a bit tired here, but who can blame them, because they worked really hard up that first leg and then had to maintain it right across the second leg to make sure that they put Charlestown A to bed there. They've done a great job. Still Jules, I can hear her shouting them on, calling them on. This will be their last row today, unfortunately, due to the change of format. Oh, that's lovely to hear. Ilford crew are absolutely delighted. There's cheers, there's oars in the air. They're really pleased to make it through to the quarterfinals. Just watching Charlestown come past again, really doing a great job maintaining their composure here, making sure that they're rowing right across the line, because obviously that would be a bit of a disaster. And then I'm just turning my eyes back just to see the other crews coming in. So the other crews that we have here is in Zorn we have Bridport A, and in Troy we have Flushing and Mila B. So yeah, these 2 crews, again, they won't be rowing again today. So this is it, and they're giving it a good fight right to the line. So we've got Flushing and Mila here on the inside in Troy, and then we've got Bridport in the outside in Zorn. And lovely to hear. I'm looking at the fly sellers behind me, and I can see a whole row of Bridport supporters out here this morning to support their crews. So brilliant to see, as that is heat 2 of 12 done. Now I've got no Ben today to do the maths with me, but even I know 2 out of 12 is we're 1/6 of the way through this morning. Interesting that actually we have less entries for the open men's category in this competition than the women's. That reflects the pattern we saw at the World Pilot Gig Championships as well. So I'm just going to come off air for a few minutes just while we sort ourselves out. We will be back. So, welcome to race 3 this morning. We have Yelm A in Manacle Bell, Padstow A in Speedwell. We have Carradon D in Hope, who were looking brilliant as they were rowing around a minute ago. Falmouth A in Ada. We have Rock A in Bedhaven, and we have Portreath A on the outside with us in Elowin. So off the line, and apologies that we missed the first little bit of that. We were just having a little bit of a glitch with some of the kit out here, but we're ready to go now. So Speedwell went absolutely, that's Padstow A, they went off the line like an absolute rocket, and then slowly they were sort of pulled back through by Ada through the Falmouth A crew. So Falmouth A now in the middle of this group in Ada. They are moving away from Padstow A, but on the outside here we have Portreath A and Elowin, and they are doing a really good job. I think the interesting fight that's going to be here is between Padstow A on the outside and Portreath A on the Portreath A on the outside here, and Padstow A on the inside in Speedwell. Now we can see them quite clearly here because we are motoring alongside them, and you can see that maybe heads are just beginning to drop in that boat a little bit. The high stroke rate that we were seeing from them has dropped a little bit, and it's just getting a little bit ragged, which is just allowed Padstow, which are on the inside line there in Speedwell, they've just slowly maintained pressure, maintained work, and they've just moved away from this Portreath boat on the outside. And now Portreath have been overhauled by just as we were sort of just as they were coming to line up, rowing around, looking absolutely on point. So yeah, some cracking rowing out here this morning. We've also got Rock A in Bedhaven, but they've lost touch a little bit with the back of the field, and we're seeing Portreath A now, after that brilliant start they got, they are dropping back. So I think we have Falmouth A now. They are about a length clear of Padstow A in the Speedwell, and they are about a length clear of a Manacle Bell, who are Yelm A, who are maybe a third of a boat length up on Hope, which is Carradon D. So they've kind of sort of sorted themselves out here as we head towards the first buoy. Portreath A are still being absolutely driven by their cocks. And like I say, we're pretty much beside them, so I can see and I can hear them very clearly. Carradon D here and Hope, they've absolutely not given up here. They've got the outside line, which is a little bit of a disadvantage because Manacle Bell, the crew from Yelm, will have the water around this first mark, but then they're not giving up at all. They're just hanging on like it's stern to bow, Yelm A to Carradon D, and Carradon D are not letting Yelm go anywhere. If anything, I thought they were driving up, but maybe that was just the water sort of giving us that slight illusion. They're still at that same point. We've got bow to stern, Carradon D and Yelm A. Yelm really just keeping this under control because they know they've got that inside line to the mark. They know they've got the advantage here to keep Carradon at bay. So the question is going to be for the Carradon cocks in the Hope is what they do now, whether they stay on the outside line or they allow their crew to drop back and they try and have the inside line, the sort of like the quickest way to the finish line here. It's going to be interesting, the decision that they make, but they're still absolutely driving. Falmouth A are away here. They didn't look like they were put under any pressure, but equally they're also not putting themselves under any pressure. I'm just checking the stroke rate. It looks to me for the Falmouth boat, remember they are the defending champions of this year, 30 strokes a minute from Falmouth. This is a little bit of a morning stroll for them. They've just pulled ahead of the field, and now they've shut down, and they're just keeping the speed well at the same distance it is, but they're not putting the effort in to pull away from the field, which is understandable because, like I said, you know, chatting this morning to a few of the women who were competing yesterday, they did say that it was a very, very tiring competition for them. So we're watching the Falmouth A go round. They are followed by Padstow A in the Speedwell, who are followed by Yelm A in Manacle Bell, and then we've got Carradon D crew just following them round. I just saw Natasha there, the cox of the Carradon boat. She's just putting her hand up to the umpires just to acknowledge that she's heard that she does not have water over Yelm. So she's just put her hand up there very respectfully to say, yeah, I heard you. I respect that, and I know I've got this under control. So yeah, we're just watching Falmouth A go around. Nice wide berth there. They haven't worried about tossing the oar. Bowside are just lifting their blades, and they're just being pushed off again. So yeah, we're watching them drive up that first leg. Yep, and there we go. Padstow round. Yelm. A slightly wide angle there. I think perhaps they've given Carradon now an opportunity to get in this by taking that inside line. Carradon clearly playing from the Steve Kent textbook there of buoy turns. And then yeah, we've got Roque have just dropped off the pace a little bit here, and Portreath they did a fabulous job up that first leg. They were absolutely up there with the top crews, but ultimately they haven't managed to maintain that. So we're just switching round. Let's go back to the beginning of race 4, because I think we can be fairly confident there that the two crews going through from race 3 are Falmouth A and Padstow A. So we're heading back towards, oh yeah, brilliant, we're just watching there, Roque turning the first mark, very composed, doing a cracking job. We're going past the umpires who did a brilliant job as ever. They were kept, we saw a few of them after the racing yesterday. There were a few decisions to be made yesterday, but generally very clean coxing, and giving our umpires no stress whatsoever. So as we head back to race 4, I'm just going to give you the runners and riders. So this is a heat that I don't think we really know what we're going to be up facing here. There's no obvious or ringer in this heat. We've got Bristol B. They are in berth 1 in Emma Louise. We've got Coulteil Key B, berth 2 in Grace. We've got Swanage A, berth 3 in Pegasus, who I would expect to see up there. We've got Helford A, berth 4 in Troy. Now I've got a little bit of inside intel, because obviously we saw Helford in Voos doing very well. I think they were 4th or 5th in the Men's World Pilot Gig Championships, but this isn't quite the same crew they've got today. So perhaps, normally you would sort of star them as being the one that we would expect to see rowing away as Falmouth were being, but I do know there's been some crew changes there, so they might not quite be as dominant as we're expecting. And then we've got Falmouth C, who are in berth 5 in Zorn. So we are quickly going back towards the start of race 4, and I'm just looking across again. Falmouth A are absolutely doing, they're not really moving away from the pack here, but again, they're just rowing at that 30 strokes a minute. They've just done everything they have to do. They're keeping Padstow A behind them. Padstow A are quite comfortable because Yelm have really actually used that second leg to push away from the Carradon crew. They've got now a good, I would say, boat length on Carradon, but all equally they're not putting the Padstow crew under any pressure either, as they're a good sort of, I would say, 3 lengths behind the Padstow crew. So Padstow and Falmouth look very much like they've shut down. They're heading in for their bacon baps this morning and their cup of tea, and they regroup before they go again in the quarterfinals. Many of those rowers in the Padstow and Falmouth boat will be heat 3 pretty much. Barring any kind of race 4. So we've got 4 out of, there are 12 heats this morning, so 4 less heats than the women, so it shouldn't take us quite as long today. And Newquay are maybe a little bit more drilled on the beach changeovers. They were really trying to stress that in the Cox's meeting, that they wanted people leaving pins and seats in the boat. Ooh, right, as I predicted, this is going to be quite a close heat actually. The boat that we seem to be seeing ahead at the moment is Spy, so that's Swanage A.
Lost audio.
That Pegasus was maybe quite a fast boat, but actually as they come alongside, the Falmouth Sea crew in Zorn on the outside outside, and that seems to be the case here for Falmouth Sea Crew. I do know they've got many very experienced rowers in their boat, and they've also got a couple of rowers that are coming back from injury and surgery. So maybe this isn't quite a sea crew that you would, they've got a few ringers in there, people who are just trying to rehab injuries and get back into rowing. So they've got a few salty sea dogs in there with a lot of experience. But yeah, we're seeing Falmouth Sea in Zorn, being coxed by Adele Green. Yeah, they're really pulling ahead. They're good. They're a good 2 lengths ahead, and they're ahead of Troy, which is Helford A. So I think the question is going to be really is who's going to get that second position, because we're watching Falmouth Sea now. They are good, I would say 3-4 lengths ahead now of the Helford boat, so they're taking this home pretty sweetly. I wonder if Falmouth are going to be aiming to do what Carradine did yesterday in the women's. Carradine managed to get their A, B and C crew into the semi-finals. So yeah, to have to be 25% of the semi-finals in the women's competition was a massive achievement. So maybe that's what Falmouth are going to be going for, and that sea crew is really going to be targeting getting through from the quarters to the semis. But yeah, I can definitely there's a few newer rowers that Falmouth are trying to bring up through the squad that I can recognise in that boat, and I can also recognise a few very familiar rowers who have been rowing for many years. Jamie Maxted's in 5 there. He had a shoulder operation earlier in this year, so he's been slowly physioing, rehabbing his shoulder, trying to get back in the boat, because obviously Jamie would, a previous world champion and a previous winner of this event, he would absolutely love to be back in the A crew ultimately, but only when his body allows. So we're now alongside the Helford crew, working up towards this first mark. They look pretty controlled, to be fair. They're not under any amount of stress here either from Swanage A.
That's definitely my type.
They look like they're cruising here. The body language of their cocks is very relaxed. Yeah, 32 strokes a minute from Helford. Jay, what do you make of this?
I'd say Helford's definitely my sort of stroke rate compared to Falmouth's there. A nice, long, controlled, throw those bodies into the bow, let the boat do the work. But hats off to Falmouth and their whole squad. They train almost like athletes. They're training 11 times a week, aren't they, non-stop? So they might as well be pro athletes. But hopefully they'll get around that first mark, Falmouth, and they'll just ease off and just let it cruise, because they don't want to use up too much energy. I think our main lesson from yesterday is we're going to try and push through these races as quick as we can, because we don't want to be doing the final in the dark again. But interestingly, Falmouth, Helford just tossed there. Got typical Newquay conditions, nice little slop coming around this first mark, coming at that westerly direction, so it's going to be pushing you out. They've come in nice and tightly. Swanage is going to try and pop on the inside there, but they're a bit too far out to do so. Hopefully he'll toss back right over. There he goes. And Swanage is still trying to get up on the inside. They've held up on the mark a bit, but unfortunately it's not good. Helford are pulling away now, so good mark from both of those crews. We've got Grace now coming over, which is Cotehill B, and then just following up behind in Emma Louise we have Bristol B. So loads of water, no one to contest with them. Nice easy row, and hopefully they'll just drive their shoulders back into this slop now and try and catch up with these other crews. But some really nice first mark there for this crew.
Yeah, absolutely, very clean rowing. So Jay, highlights of the season so far? You've obviously been highlights of the season so far.
God.
You've been around with the stream team. Have you done much rowing yourself this year, or has it mainly been camera operating?
Not much rowing for me at the moment. So my rowing at the moment is not on regattas or championships, but more long distance rowing. We just came back from the Great River Race last weekend. Our plans are to do Netherlands next year, potentially Ocean to Cork, the Ocean to City race. So I think my time doing these races, I think it's the training, like the non-stop training for winter and sillies. I think I'm beyond that now. But I think my highlights this year, it's going to be a tricky one. To be fair, I'm going to have to catch the drone quickly. Oh no, he's okay. I think it'll have to be world champs, to be honest with you, that women's finals. And just how tight the women's racing is, it's phenomenal. I think that would be my highlight this year.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Carolyn and Foy yesterday. I just thought that was such a battle royale, really. So the London River Race, that's actually a race I've never done. What was it like? What people have told me before is that it's very busy. Like the launching and the picking up is a bit of a pain in the backside, but the actual race itself is totally worth it. Because to be on the river, going through those sort of sites and all that sort of flotilla of boats, those different types, was it? What tell us about it. If no one's ever done it before, why should they go and do it?
Yeah, I would really recommend anyone to do the Great River Race. It's a fantastic race. I was a bit daunted by the idea of towing a gig through London, which was a whole new experience, towing a boat through past Buckingham Palace, through the Mall, through Trafalgar Square. But to be fair, it was the easiest drive I've ever done through London, because you got a 40-foot trailer on the back and everyone sees you. They're like, we'll stay clear of that guy. So towing the boat, if anyone's a bit apprehensive about doing it, it's actually really easy. So that's one thing to tick off the list. The actual race itself, because you're going on a running tide, the first probably third of the race is very easy. You can just take your time. The tide's pushing you as much as possible. You can't go exactly fast because there's slower boats in front of you and you're not allowed to overtake under bridges. But seeing London from that perspective, low on the river, going under the bridges, crowds cheering you on that have never seen these sort of boats before. You've got all sorts of different classes. I lost my voice actually after going under every single bridge. I was going oggy, oggy, oggy at the top of my lungs. But yeah, really recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I did MPM in Holland a few years ago, and that was an experience because maybe we didn't take the racing as seriously as we should have, and we were a bit jaded when we got in our 101 Dalmatian outfits for the final race, and that was a little bit of a slog. But to be racing amongst that sort of like that different variety of boats was pretty spectacular. Made it a bit more interesting, to be honest. So we're watching Falmouth Sea very comfortably around the second mark and heading for home. Helford are equally comfortable heading along this second leg. They don't look like they're in any stress whatsoever from the Swanage. I think both of those crews they're thinking about just getting in here and heading in for a bacon sandwich and a cup of tea, I think, before they get ready for the quarterfinals, get some food on. I think one of the issues there was yesterday with the format and the fact that we had that unfortunate break because of the gap and the swell in the gap is that I know like Helford A yesterday they rowed first thing in the morning and then they waited 7 hours for their quarter final fight, which is isn't the most it's not the best part of the format, but yeah, it's just obviously the priority of Newquay Gig Club is to keep everybody safe. So yeah, that was the priority yesterday. We're just looking here at Swanage. I'm already a little bit confused. What is going on? Just rowing Spy here, rowing lovely long stroke, very relaxed. Again, we're not seeing a lot of feathering from this crew, which was a little bit of a hallmark that we saw of the rowing yesterday. A couple of the crews, you get away with it a little bit more today because you haven't got that strong headwind that we're rowing into on this leg. But it is, if I was coaching this crew, it is the thing that I'd be looking to work on over the winter season, because it really will. It'll make the blades aerodynamic. It'll make the boat go fast. That's mine and Ferg's little catchphrase from yesterday. So we're heading in now, race 4. So we are 4 out of 12. My maths was being much mocked yesterday, but that's a third of the way through this first round. So we'll be going in and we'll be getting ready for race 5. Newquay did a really good job yesterday with the women of turning them around on the beach quite quickly. I think the men were a little bit slower this morning, so I hope the men up their game here to get out a little bit quicker, because obviously the priority will be, we're hoping that we won't have that 2-hour gap because of the gap today, because the swell isn't as significant as it was yesterday. But obviously the priority will be trying to get through this as quickly as it can. It will be a little bit easier because the women had 16 rounds yesterday and we only have 12 rounds today. So yeah, we're very hopeful that's not going to be the case and that we can all get home nice and early, because it was a little bit of a challenge last night. I've had to stay at my parents', James, still wearing all of yesterday's clothing, plus my dad's socks, and he had to give me a jumper. I'm wearing one of his heritage jumpers. They've got a jumper on from the 1990 World Pilot Gig Championships. He said that that's what I needed to wear today to commentate in. So I haven't worn it since I was pregnant. It's absolutely massive. I borrowed it from my pregnancies when I couldn't wear anything else, but I'm back in the jumper because yesterday's schedule stressed everybody out a little bit. And thank you very much to my brother-in-law Toby Budd, who swooped in and sorted out my childcare issues. So Falmouth are over the line now, straight into the quarterfinals. Job done. Falmouth Sea Crew will be very happy with that, and they'll be really targeting the quarterfinals to get through to the semis. We're seeing Helford A through, really relaxed over the line. They're definitely thinking about their bacon sandwiches.
Well, what's going on?
And then Swanage A, I mean, it is a really difficult position in terms of the morale of a boat, but it's hard to know what to do in this position. They were too far away from Helford to chase them down, but also they're too far in front of the crews behind them to have a fight on their hands. So yeah, I just clocked them at 27 strokes per minute. Oh, we got a few people in the Swanage boat just rubbing backs. Maybe they found that those bumpy conditions a little bit challenging. Well done, Heat 5. I can see that you've done a better job than Heat 3 did before you in getting out onto the start line, so we can make a nice crisp start to this race 5. So I'll just tell you who we're expecting in race 5. I think they are, the pick of this group is Newquay A, berth 1 in Hope, getting to row their own boat. They'll be delighted by that. Then we've got Catwater A, berth 2 in Manacle Bell. I can't really say I know much about Catwater's A crew. Then we've got Yelm B, berth 3 in Speedwell. We've got Bude A, berth 4 in Bedhaven. Then we've got Crantock A, berth 5 in Elowen. And we've got Zena A, a crew I also don't know much about, berth 6 in Ada. So I would expect to see Hope, the Newquay crew, going up here, but we will see. Okay, Ryan, are we just have a little break in commentary and proceedings for a moment, and then we'll be straight back out to see race 5. Thank you. we live? Okay, so joining us for race 5 we have Newquay A in Hope, berth 1, Catwater A, berth 2 in Manacle Bell, Yelm B, berth 3 in Speedwell, Bude A, berth 4 in Bedhaven, Crantock A, berth 5 in Elowen, and Zena A, berth 6 in Ada. So to be honest, looking at this race, we're not really sure who we're expecting to be the cream of the field. We're expecting Newquay A. They've done well to draw their own boat in the first round, and they're in berth 1 as well, to perhaps be the cream of the field. But the crews that we're really seeing going at the front here, we've got Elowen, which is Crantock A, and we've also got Bude A in Bedhaven, so that's their own boat as well. So we've got the kind of battle of Newquay and Bude in their own boats here, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that I'm joined by Rhiannon Bailey, victorious in the Carradon boat for the first time. She picked up a women's county record medal, so delighted that Rhiannon's with us, and she's just going to give us a little view. What do you think of this first part of this race, Rhiannon?
Well, it's nice to be out here and having a look at from a different perspective from yesterday, but Newquay is certainly going well on the inside. No one seemed to go that great from those berths yesterday. We definitely found that those berths 1 and 2 were quite hard to get ahead, but they're having a bit of a run from Bude, is that, in their own boat?
Yeah, it is Bude. Yeah, absolutely. Bude are really taking it to Newquay. And it's interesting what you were saying there, Rhiannon, about berth 5 and 6, because from the commentary boat, that was exactly what we were observing. And often in Newquay, in years gone by, you've done everything to avoid being in berth 5 or 6. But yesterday, it felt like the place to be, did it not?
Yeah, absolutely. We were definitely, certainly in one of the races, we were in berth 1, and yeah, it definitely took us a little while to get up there on the start, for sure. So I noticed a few people on the start line as well. They're pushing right out to try and get as far away from the fly sellers as you can in berth 1. But these Newquay seem to now be pushing ahead, don't they, of Bude? Certainly. They're probably likely to want to shut down at some point, because obviously they don't have to do that well in this race, or they don't have to be certainly rowing their hardest. They just need to be top 3, is it? Top 2?
It's top two this morning. So yeah, you're quite right. I think Newquay can they can take confidence in the fact they're the inside boat there, can't they?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they're going to get the water over Bude, but you can begin to see Newquay just begin to motor. And this is the thing, I mean, this is Newquay's, they're in their own boat, they're on their own water. Newquay can take supreme amount of confidence. You always see Newquay crews do well at Newquay because they know these conditions so well. They're always down here kind of on a Friday night doing the racing. It's rep rowing at Newquay compared to the local races. Like, we all get excited about going out to the sort of different regattas, doing the mixed and etc. For Newquay, their priority is always the home regattas. So yeah, look, we're really watching Newquay now beginning to just put some distance into Bude. It's hard for us to tell here. Is this Newquay sort of like, have they upped their game, or Bude have just dropped off a little bit? Bude, to me, like, they look like they've shortened up a little bit, which is what they won't want to do, because they're just losing a little bit of speed. And if anything, it's Catwater A and Manacle Bell look like they're building on them. What do you make of that, Rhiannon?
Yeah, I think Catwater certainly look like they've got the smoother stroke. They look a little bit more in control, perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised if they give Bude a bit of a run for their money up here, and they're certainly going to want to get top 2, because otherwise this is their only row for the day, being a one-dayer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that isn't like the format any of us want, is it, a Newquay? But it's what we've got at the moment. We're struggling a little bit because Jay is standing in my way at the moment. But I think what we'll do is we'll just stand up so that Rhiannon and I can see these crews coming round the mark, because we're struggling now. So yeah, Newquay heading out towards this first mark. Rhiannon, you've done a fair amount of coxing here yourself. What are you looking? What would you be doing in Newquay's position here?
Well, you just want to make sure you kind of keep the boat speed. I mean, they may well want to practice. I mean, Newquay probably won't, because they've probably practiced this course a lot of times, but sometimes when you're up front, you might want to have a little practice to see how the conditions are working for today. So you might want to, practice what you're going to do in the later rounds, but you certainly don't want to be slowing the boat down too much. But you do often see people overshoot this mark, don't you?
You do, and there was a thing Ben kept saying yesterday, is especially because we had that real offshore wind. There you go, Rhiannon called it. Newquay going to have a little practice of the buoy toss, and that is a really good example, actually, of a bow toss really working. Now, the crew there in the Bude crew are trying a different tactic. They've gone much tighter. They haven't tossed. They're trying to keep inside of Newquay. But there, can you see Newquay have just tossed back over? And that's the advantage that Newquay have got. Because look at the line now that Newquay... Oh, and look, and we're seeing a bow toss here from Crantock as well. Look at the line that Newquay have now got, whereas the Bude cocks has still got rudder on. And the problem is, if you've got rudder on, you're slowing a boat, you're not.
Yeah, and I think Bude actually, they did, but they seem to have actually pulled a bit out of Catwater here. I don't think Catwater had the quickest of turns there, because now Bude are actually rowing away from them again, and I'll be interested to see whether Catwater can come back on them again on this leg here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen a crab there from the Bude 6 rower. So maybe the cocks of Catwater needs to let them know that that's going on, because it looks Newquay are really stretching away. This second leg of Newquay, like, how was it, Rhiannon, yesterday, rowing it in the dark? Because honestly, when I was watching you guys, I was like, I hope their vision is all right, because I think people whose vision maybe wasn't quite right, they would have struggled to find the water there.
Yeah, it was certainly interesting. I mean, at the time you're just kind of in the moment, but there was certainly points up this second leg where you were looking at the spectator boat and looking at the lights down in the town as well, and you're thinking, yeah, it's pretty dark. But I think that's the thing, is that when you're training, sometimes we do train in the dark, and you have to kind of feel the boat, and almost it becomes second nature, so you don't necessarily have to be staring at the oar all the time. But I mean, you can see here now from the shore the conditions look pretty flat, whereas now you're out here and I'm holding on to this side of the boat. It's quite lumpy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think in many ways it's actually lumpier out here than it was for you guys, but it feels like the swell direction's coming from a slightly different direction, which is again maybe explaining why it's bigger. But yeah, we certainly used to train a lot in the dark. I never ever thought those skills would come into a race, but
certainly not in Newquay. I mean, we were going all through the day thinking, is it actually going to be on? Are we going to have to race at 7:30 tomorrow morning, like it's in this morning? It was definitely interesting and a very quick turnaround. We just left all our stuff in the boat between the semi and the final, and we didn't even have time for a drink, to be honest. We were straight back out there, so no time to get nervous, I guess, which was the positive, but it was certainly a bit fast and furious yesterday.
I think, though, we're going to see that with the men's open as well this afternoon, aren't we, though? Because it's just, I mean, there is a little bit more space in the schedule today, in that we had 16 rounds of round one yesterday, whereas we've got 12 today. So that will speed us up, and we're hoping that the changing conditions means the gap won't be an issue. But yeah, it's interesting what you were saying there about, like, sort of the feel. We used to night train quite a bit, and we used to actually talk about the fact that it was almost like training with your eyes shut type thing. Yeah. You had to really get that feel, was something that it was a byproduct of night training, which actually I think was of benefit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were quite lucky, obviously, in the summer we get to train, and usually it's nice and light, but certainly those last few weeks when Newquay's been rearranged, it was getting dark early, so it did feel almost quite wintry training the last month or so. But just glad it was finally on, and we got to have a really good race. It must have been quite something to watch as well, because on the when we watched the live stream back, it didn't look as dark as what it actually was, I don't think.
I thought that as well. People kept messaging me and they were like, what are you talking about? It's dark. And then I looked at the gig row footage last night and I was like, it looked a lot lighter on the coverage than it felt in person, I can tell you. So Rhiannon, just so well done. It was, fabulous to see you win. I know you've been around. When did you start gig rowing?
25 years ago now. Quite a long time. I haven't rowed in the A crew since I've had the kids, so I had a bit of time. I've been rowing in the B crew. We've had a pretty special B crew at Carradon as well. It's not like your average B crew, but it's just slightly less pressure than obviously rowing in the A's. But yeah, this was my first time back in there for 11 years since I've had the kids, and I was in there before having the kids, but the best medal I got was third, so it was really nice to get a gold.
Yeah, it was just fabulous. And the first time Carradon won the county since 2019. I remember a time when they rode through us and absolutely deserved that victory. So, it was just lovely to see you guys back on top, and just, it was a brilliant row. It was a privilege to watch.
Yeah, it was certainly a tough race. I mean, Foy were pretty, they just looked really strong and powerful as well. And I think, you've got to always believe that you can win, but they certainly made us work hard for it, and it was nice as well to win from a really tough race. You see what I mean? It just made it even more sweet. I don't know how, but
Well, like, it's always best to come out on top in those scenarios. When you come second in those scenarios, it feels nothing but pain. But to win, yeah, special. No, well done. It was lovely. It was brilliant to watch, and it's quite interesting yesterday, like contrasting almost the styles of like Carradon, Foy, and Helford. Like, it is so clear that those three clubs, like, they do have a style. There is a technique there that you can see in their Bs and you can see in their Cs, and like all three are effective clearly. But you know, it just shows how there's sort of like our sport is open to debate and interpretation on how it's done. So we are now in race 6, and I'm having a look. They've already gone. So we've got Team A in Amazon in Carradon's boat. They are comfortably in the lead here, and they look like they've sort of shut down a little bit, under control. Then behind them we've got Grace, which is Coteil. Thank you very much, Rhiannon. Then we've got Zorn and Foy River B. So Coteil and Foy are having a real fight, and at the moment it looks to me, Rhiannon, like Zorn's going to have the water on this first mark.
yeah, it's hard to see from this angle for sure that they do look like they're edging up. I couldn't call it from this angle, to be honest, but I think they're going to definitely have a race on. Yeah, interesting to see as well in the Foy boat. They've got a few life jackets in there, so they've obviously got a few youngsters in that boat, which is always nice to see.
I think that's Felix and Monty who were joining us yesterday. So they've 3 life jackets, we think, 3 under 16. So they are absolutely going to want to get through. Yeah, Rhiannon thinks that Coteil have got this first mark, but it's going to be interesting to see what Foy have done. And then if I look a little bit further back, we have got Troy, which is Padstow B, and then we've got in Spy, we have got Mevagissey B. So we've got quite a lot of the sort of St Austell, well, we've got Foy and Mevagissey here, so a couple of the sort of St Austell based clubs, but we're really watching Team A. I mean, they look very composed.
Yeah, they look like they've just shut down. They look very, very controlled. They're just going to be tapping along, aren't they? Just want to get round clean. Coteil have definitely come up on Zorn for sure, so let's see how clean their turn is, because they don't want to be letting Zorn come up at them, because they want this top 2, don't they, to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. They want their second row of the day, and yeah, they have really. They look. It's pretty impressive rowing actually there from Coteil, because the thing is that it looks like they're under no pressure whatsoever, doesn't it?
They do look really controlled. They look they look in time, and they're rowing really well. They were kind of middle of the B heat at Sillies, and I think they're really looking to try and get in this semi-final today, I think.
So here we go. We're watching team just very nicely, just rowing around.
A little look. There's one of their rowers there on the stroke side. He just keeps looking over his shoulder, just very chilled, isn't he? There in 4.
So then we're watching Coteil go around this buoy. So maybe they've left the door open a little bit from Foy.
They have. I mean, I think he's overshot that mark a little bit, and that Foy Cox has taken that opportunity, and he's actually coming out level, if not on top. I mean, this is going to be a bit of a scrap on up this second leg for sure.
I can watching the expression there on Felix's face as well. He was here doing the Osmos with us on Gig Rower. He saw that because he watched 100-odd people around these boys yesterday. He knows exactly what the opportunity was there. So yeah, we got Padstow just coming round in Troy. They've really slowed boat speed round there, but nicely safe around. Made sure that they've really pulled round. I think some of the coxes heard our feedback yesterday. What was happening, Rhiannon, is a lot of crews were they were turning that mark, and they were like rudder on, stroke side on. Maybe they'd toss the oar, but then they would revert back to straight rowing too early, and they were overshooting the mark, and then they had to put loads of rudder on and slow their crews down. So we're seeing less of that today. Hopefully that little bit of feedback's got through. But Foy looked to me like they're really taking this to Coteil for this second spot. This could be the most interesting race of the day.
Yeah, no, they are. They're wanting to get that water, aren't they? I can't quite see from this angle whether they've got it yet, but they're certainly going to give it some beans. But I recognise a few of them in that Foy boat from rowing flash boats, and you can see that in their style. They're very controlled, very smooth, and I think this is if they can keep this up in this chop, it might see them come in pulling through. But Coteil aren't giving up easily, are they? I think they've got a few vets in there, and super vets, so they've got a lot of experience in that coattail boat, and they're not going to want to let those youngsters row through them, are they?
Felix and Monty are going to be, they're going to be wishing they were back on the gig row boat. We've also got Felix's mum, Laura, beside us on the boat here. So we've got a bit of vested interest in this foy boat. But yeah, it looks to me like they've done it in Zorn. They're working up that coattail boat. So obviously you guys, Carradine, you're rowing out of Saltash. Do you see coattail around training much?
Yeah, well I know some of them in there, because I actually row flash boats at Cowstock, so some of them, well, Nick Bradley certainly does, but we do train with them a little bit. But I see coattail a lot on the water when we're down rowing at Cowstock, and they've got a huge club. They've got a massive recreational section, but they do a lot of training on the Tamar, and they've always got boats out like all sort of times of the day. So and they've actually got some really good juniors coming up. They had a junior crew in the Great River Race last week, and I believe they got the top junior crew, so they've got the future's bright there. I think if they can filter some of those juniors up through the club, they're going to certainly have a force to be reckoned with in a few years' time.
What are their facilities like at coattail as well? Are they tidal? Can they get out all the time? Or
I believe that they can launch at most states of the tide, but they are they do run out of tide, so they won't have a lot of space in the river. But I'm not sure whether they can launch at all states actually, but they've certainly got a decent setup down there. They've got they row out of Coattail, the National Trust estate, and they've got a really well set up, very well organised club for sure.
No, I gotta love that and appreciate that. But Foy B here have done a fabulous job to push up through them. They're really sort of like, they're holding them very honest along this second leg, and what they're going to have is they're going to have water around this second buoy, which isn't as significant in Newquay as the first buoy. But the thing we really saw in the women's race yesterday, and I felt like it was the decisive moment, to be honest, Rhiannon, is what we saw is at that first leg, it was you, it was Helford, it was Foy. We saw Helford drop back on the first leg. Foy got water over you around that first mark, but then what Steve Kent did a great job of is he just got your nose inside on that second leg, didn't he? And then it must have just been work on that second leg. Like, what was Steve saying to you as you're going along the second leg?
I can't repeat it on the live stream. There was a few F-bombs in there, but at one point he said, if you want to win this race, this is where you've got to do it. And I was rowing on the bow side, so I couldn't see it, but you could hear the other crew right next to us, and we just seemed to have that boat speed, and just that slightly sharper stroke, I think, just seemed to make that boat go, and we were going, and then once we got round that last buoy, it was like there was no way we were letting them row for us then.
If that felt like the decisive moment, you were doing exactly what Foy B are doing right now on this buoy. You had the inside mark, and that gave you, and we'll see if Foy B are going to be as lucky here, but that gave you that sort of like half a boat length, and then once you had that half a boat length, it just felt like you had it then. It just felt like you were taking control. And it was interesting because I had a chat to Jade yesterday, who was in the bow of the Foy boat, and she just said it didn't look like it. Foy still looked from the outside like they had their composure, but she was like that. She said that's when they felt that for her they just lost their composure.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch the live stream back as well, they did look composed. Like you said, they looked strong. They looked like a class act. So if they felt like it, they certainly didn't show it. They were, they certainly looked the part and looked really controlled. So I mean, fair play to them if they weren't feeling it, because they did look good.
And look, just what Foy have done here, this Foy B crew, is what they've done is, and there's some really sly coxing going on here, because what the Foy cox is trying to do is, they've used that buoy to their advantage. They've got ahead, they've pulled a length ahead on coattail, and what the Foy cox is doing now, and this is somebody who knows what they're doing, is they're just pulling ahead of coattail, because it's at this point what you do is, as a rower in that coattail boat, you've now lost the Foy boat out of your peripheral vision. So what you guys had yesterday, which is even if you can't see them, you could hear them, you knew they were there. That's more difficult for coattail now, so it's hard to sort of maintain motivation along this leg to believe that they can pull through Foy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, if they want to go, they've got to go now, because they certainly with finishing at the Fly Sellers, that last leg actually feels really short. At one point yesterday, Steve said it's 400 yards to go, and then the next minute it was 150 yards to go. I think he got his measurements slightly out, but it certainly felt less far than what it usually does because of that shorter finish. So you've got less time if you're out and clear. You've got less time to have anyone rowing through you, but again, vice versa. If you're behind, you've got less time to pull through. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't think they're going to get it now. I think Foy are well and truly into that next round. So, Cotila just got to row it in, but try and keep their heads up and finish strong, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even like in commentary, to be honest, Rhiannon, the fly sellers took me by surprise yesterday. Claire had told me that I needed to do the big build up to, and then the hoot on. I was like, sorry, Claire, no. But I think there was some combination between it being the fly sellers and it being dark. I had somewhat lost my my bearings on where we were. Foy just needs to be a little bit careful here of the fishing pot. The problem is sometimes they get ropes trailing off them, and I've certainly seen it before where a rope will get caught around a rudder and then you're not going nowhere. So from this race 6, we're halfway through now this first round. I think we can confidently say Tina through, River Foy B are through, and what a cracking race we had there between Cotil and Foy. Foy, look, oh there we go, like fists in the air. Can we have a proud mum moment?
Yeah, I'm a very proud mum. Well done, boys.
There you go, Laura's proud. We should have some excellent footage there of Foy B. So yeah, we're just turning around to have a little look at the other crews that are coming in here. So we've got Troy that's coming in, so this is Padstow B, they're on the north coast. I honestly think Padstow might have the best boat shed in Cornwall. This is my theory. Yeah. I never see anyone rowing out of it. I live in Weybridge, you see, so I buzz up and down a little bit at the Camel Trail with screaming toddlers in tow. Yeah. But their boat shed in Padstow, right in the harbour there, is honestly, I said it yesterday, but if Rick Stein could get hold of it to sell some fish and chips out of it, he would probably like that. Yeah, they got a great setup there. So yeah, we're watching Padstow, and then the other boat that was coming in behind was a Mevagizzy B, and I mean it says on our sheet there in Pegasus, but I think Pegasus has been taken out and replaced by Spy. I don't quite know the reasoning behind that, but I think Pegasus was she's a bit fast, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think I thought it was the other way around. I thought that they took it out because it was too slow, but I'm not sure. I just know that in the final, just before the final yesterday, we had to all move our stuff out of the way very quickly with the fading light to let them get the Spy out. So they brought the Spy in at last minute, so they've obviously made a little change there to try and even the boats up a little bit, whichever way round it is.
I'm not entirely convinced. Right, we're going to leave it there for a few minutes, and we will be back for race 7 very shortly. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back to race 7. We have River Foy A, berth 1 in Ellerwood. We have Dart A, berth 2 in Speedwell. We have Yelm C, berth 3, Ada. We have Weymouth B, berth 4, Manacle Bell, and we have Carradon E, berth 5, Bedhaven, and we have Charlestown A, berth 6 in Hope. So what we're expecting to see here is we're expecting to see a bit of a St Austell Bay sort of like showdown here, because what we're kind of expecting is we're expecting Charlestown A to come from berth 6 and Foy A to come to berth 1, and they're off the line now, and that's exactly what's happened. We're right beside Charlestown here, and they've got a spectacular start. I mean, maybe they're 5 strokes in and they're already a length up on Bedhaven, and we're seeing Foy come out from that berth 1. It looks again like we've been talking about this a little bit. We're talking about it a lot yesterday, we're talking about it today. It looks like that berth 6 really is the place you want to be. Normally that's the last place you'd want to be. I think 2006, 2007 we went off berth 6, and I remember there being breaking swell around us. It was absolutely terrible that day, but yeah, Charlestown are romping away with this from berth 6, and we're seeing Foy moving up on the inside from berth 1. The other crew that looks to be sort of making a good showing of this is the Clevedon A boat in Speedwell. They're maybe half a length up now on Ada, which is St Agnes A, and they're keeping Foy honest there. We've got Foy's stern to the Clevedon A's bow, and they're keeping them honest. They're keeping them just there. Every time it looks like Foy moving away, Clevedon are just going with them at the moment, and they're using that momentum to pull away from St Agnes A. If I look back, we've got Bedhaven, which is Flushing and Myla A. They are maybe, oh no, I'm wrong there. Yes, sorry, I'm reading off the wrong list. That's the problem here. Carradon E in Bedhaven, and then we've got Manacle Bell, which is Weymouth B. They're racing together for 5th and 6th here, but it's pretty much nose to tail there. Carradon E crew, is it in Bedhaven? So yeah, we're seeing Charlestown. They look like they're really rowing away with this, and then we've got Foy on the inside. Rhiannon, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, Charlestown are gone, aren't they? To me, they look like they were slightly up on the start as well, but they certainly were moving. And like you said, berth 6 seems to be the place to be, because they were just gone. They could have shut down after about 10 strokes, I think. But Foy are still there. They look very smooth. They look quite slow and controlled. I don't know what the rate is, but they even look like they're kind of pausing at the end. So it doesn't look like they're doing an awful lot. But I mean, Speedwell are bowed to stern with them, so they can't totally shut down yet, but they certainly look to be in control. So I think Charlestown should, want to conserve their energy now. They certainly went well. They did well at Foy a few weeks ago, so I think they're going to be looking to vie for a final spot for sure. So they just need to conserve as much energy as they possibly can, and Foy are going to want to do the same. We noticed in Foy there's a few of their kind of old A crew maybe from many years ago that are back in there, so they've got some pretty good rowing standard in there, but I don't know what you think, but they look very controlled. They're just almost pausing at the end and just look like they're out for a little training row, really.
Yeah, I just did a little stroke row check, and they're 30. I did the same thing on Charlestown. They're also 30, but then in the Speedwell there, which is the Dart A crew, they're doing 35. We've got a bit of a contrast here in terms of style. That Speedwell, that dart boat, is doing quite a shorter stroke. We saw a fair bit of this yesterday with the women's, actually. We're not feathering, which is into this headwind, is going to be killing them. That is definitely the thing that I'd be suggesting to spend a bit of time over the winter working on, because feathering the blade really will help them, especially in these sort of messy conditions. In gig rowing, we turn the blade not all the way over, sort of 180 degrees like you see in the sliding seat boats, but we turn them to 45 degrees just so that the blade can bounce off the wave if you hit a bit of mucky water, stops your blade catching, so it also helps rowing in these conditions. And yeah, I think that's beginning to hurt Dart there, because Foy are just pulling away from them. I find it quite interesting, just talk a bit of technique a minute, Rhiannon. Like, if we look at that Foy men's A crew, I think obviously men and women physiologically different, they're not going to row the same style, but I think we can see the hallmarks of a Foy River Gig Club style, can't we? That holding the bodies back, like those hands moving before those bodies come forward. Would you agree? Yeah, definitely, and they do tend to, as a club as well, row with big blades, so their stroke does look kind of long and powerful for sure. But these guys are certainly holding those shoulders, aren't they? They're not bobbing up on their oars, they're just looking pretty controlled.
they're a little bit going down the side of their body, a few of them, but on the whole they're looking together, they're hitting that catch together, and certainly in control down here for sure.
So you sort of said they're going down the side of their bodies. For those that haven't spent quite as much time thinking about technique as maybe you have, if you were coaching, what would you describe that as, and why is that a weakness in a rower?
Well, I just think sometimes you can get your oar caught down the side and you just twist a little bit, maybe get a bit prone to injury. Like there definitely has a tendency to stay in behind the oar a little bit more nowadays. I mean, if you look back at videos and pictures from the 90s, it's a very different style to what it was today. It is a bit tricky in these conditions, which may make it look a little bit like they're rowing down the side a bit, but they're it's certainly a little bit more of an old school type style, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking at that 5-rower in Foy, and I think they really sort of epitomise actually what we would call that sort of like new style. They're definitely not going down the side. We've got that really sort of powerful pull into the chest there. That's kind of what we're looking for, in contradiction to going down the style. But look at Charlestown, they are just away, aren't they? Yeah. So Foy also under no pressure around this mark. They're taking it nice and tight, maintaining some boat speed by not touching the buoy. They're lifting their kits. That's why you'll see crews do that. But then we've got Dart. Oh, they're going to toss the oar, right? Okay. So they're going to have a proper go at this. See if they can get that acute angle on the inside. So where were you rowing the Carradon boat yesterday, Rhiannon?
I was rowing 5, so it was my job to hold water around the mark and tried to hold onto the buoy a little bit as well. But these buoys are really light, and you just kind of hit straight over them. So there wasn't much buoy holding at all. But certainly you never used to be able to hold water on the marks, did you? But now the 5-rower can. Certainly I know that there's been some disqualifications in years gone by from people holding water on the marks, but it's certainly a tactic that people use now. So yeah, it's
not a tactic we generally encourage, because you want teams to go fast around the mark, but obviously it's a trick in your toolbox, isn't it? And you guys yesterday, you were prioritising the acute angle around that buoy, hence you hold up, rather than that flow around the mark. So you were really trying to get that inside line in Foy, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. At the first mark certainly we did, but on the last mark we just were rowing around it. So it all depends on the angles really, and like you say, it's a toss up between going tight and losing boat speed and keeping the boat moving. But when you're close racing and you can just nip your bow inside, because we certainly eased off coming into the first mark, like we had a call to ease off so we could duck that bow inside of them. Bit of a gamble maybe, because you never quite know how tight the person in front of you is going to go, but it seemed to pay off for us, and we were able to slow down. But then we have to pick the boat back up again once you've gone around the buoy. So as soon as all 6 rowers are back in and the rudder's straight, we do like a quick push off the buoy and pick that boat speed back up again, and off you go.
Ferg and I were really sort of talking about this, because we were trying to, I think one of the skills that isn't highly rated enough in our sport, well, it is highly rated to be fair, but maybe it's like a skill set that we just don't discuss enough, is the coxswain. And I think the challenge of coxing is you have got all of those decisions to make, haven't you? Yeah. You are processing so much information, and for Steve yesterday, it is watching Foy, isn't it? I want to go inside them, but if I go inside them, then I cannot impede them, because if I impede them, then that means my crew's disqualified, and absolutely no one wants that. So it's all of those decisions, all of those things that Steve's having to do, where it's communicating with you, it's watching that Foy boat, it's thinking about opportunities. It is quite a skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I've done quite a bit of coxing myself. I'm not coxing this weekend because I've got the kids coming up, and I'll be looking after them later on. But we're certainly lucky at Carradon that we've got some really cracking coxes, and I think some of it though, you have to get out there and take some risks, and sometimes they come off and sometimes they don't, but it can be really tough to make those calls when you've got 6 rowers that are counting on you to turn the mark. And if it goes wrong, you might get them disqualified, but then you want to be in the mix, so you don't want your cocks to go wide and play it too safe. But yeah, so there's a lot of weight on their shoulders, and especially nowadays you've got the drones and all the all the cameras on you as well. Like, there is no hiding out here, is there?
No, that is like an additional. I'm very glad that no one was out here recording when I got Flushing and Mile A disqualified a few years ago, because there would have been some very questionable, some very questionable coxing from me on that day. So I think that is fair. I think also that's where the CRA rowing really helps, isn't it? Because you've got opportunities just to. It's a bit like the racing drivers in F1 karting, because you've got all those opportunities to like play with those lines, to make mistakes that maybe you wouldn't necessarily get away with in a gig.
Yeah, that's right. And in the CRA you have coxers that are tiny, so you could have like 7-8-year-olds coxing, and they're going in these flash boats which are tiny and so close to the water. It's really fast and furious, and my kids have started doing a bit of coxing now, and it's hell of a skill set really, and there's quite a lot of pressure on them, but we don't as like racing crews, you don't put pressure on them as in like you expect too much of them, but it's certainly opportunities to get out there and learn your craft. And I think there'll be lots of coxers out here today who have done flash boat rowing in the past as well, and learned their trade, if you like, from when they were really small. And obviously the flash boats are really fast, so it can possibly a little bit harder because there's slight move on the rudder, and you can throw that boat right off. There's obviously the gigs are a little bit more forgiving, if you like, but yeah, there's definitely no hiding out here, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. So now what we are doing is we are leaving Foy River A and Dart A to continue their procession there and into the quarterfinals, and we are going on to race 8. So race 8, the runners and riders are, we have Hale A, berth 1 in Grace. We have Appledore B, berth 2 in Zorn. We have Hale B, berth 3 in Emma Louise. We have Carradon B, berth 4 in Amazon. We have Clevedon B, berth 5 in Pegasus. And Appledore A, berth 6 in Troy. Sorry, Clevedon B won't be in Pegasus. They will be in Spy. Pegasus is out because she was considered to be of a sort of different speed to the other boats. Whether it's faster or lower, Rhiannon and I are not sure. But slight question over whether Carradon we're going to get here, because Rhiannon says when she got on the boat, not all of Carradon B were on the beach yet. So it's good to even see them on the water, is it not, Rhiannon?
Yeah, that's right. And they are certainly having a race. I couldn't see Troy until just now. They're really kind of far away from the rest of the field. So it'll be interesting to see as we come up here who's actually in front. It looks to me like Troy are up on the outside here, and that is Appledore, is it not?
Yeah, we have Appledore A in Troy, and we have Carradon B are in their own boat, Amazon. So there's a little advantage there for Carradon, because it's just knowing the setup of your own boat more than anything. You kind of tend to know where you need to put your stretcher and all of those things, which can just make you feel more confident. But I think we've got Appledore A here. We've got a race on between first and second. But if you were coxing that Carradon boat, Rhiannon, would you be telling them to go for it, or is it just all about getting through to the quarters?
No, it's all about getting through to the quarters. So you only need to be top 2 here, and these guys are going to want to be conserving as much energy as they possibly can. I mean, Troy are up, aren't they? But they look pretty controlled. They're looking round at the crews next to them, and Amazon look like they've shut down as well. I mean, they're rowing really slow, really controlled. So I would have thought these two are just going to want to cruise it. They're not going to be bothered about beating each other, and yeah, they're just going to want to get round this mark nice and tidy, and get themselves on the beach, get fueled up, because they want to conserve all that energy for the rest of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at the cox there of Appledore. He was having a sort of look round at us as well. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I don't know, sort of like, is he knitting? Oh no, it's all right. He's picking up his strings. It's all right. He's a very cool character, that one.
Yeah, he's holding the rope right behind him for some reason. I don't know whether the rope's a bit short or whether that's just his style. I'm not sure. But yeah, look how controlled Carradon look. Don't they look amazing?
Yeah, they absolutely do. It's very considered there, isn't it? We can see James Howe. James Howe was a little bit upset yesterday that Ferg and I didn't discuss him enough.
Oh no, so maybe we need to big him up a little bit here. So yeah, James is looking very controlled here. Look, you can see he's barely breaking a sweat.
What an athlete.
Exactly.
Think he'll give us a tenner later yet?
Yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, they've got they've got some cracking rowers in this crew. They've actually had a last minute change because 3 of their rowers that were supposed to row a couple of weeks ago couldn't make it. So they've got 3 rowers come up from the C crew into the B crew, and they're pretty good replacements for sure. But they got Will up at the bow. He's actually new to the club this summer. He's come over from Dartmouth. His girlfriend was rowing yesterday and was rowing in the C crew. So they've both come over to Carradon this year, and he was just buzzing to be in this B crew. He is absolutely looking forward to this weekend, and I think this is going to be a class bit of experience for him. He was really looking forward to rowing with these guys and the experience they've got in their crew.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that your husband Ashley in full there?
Yeah, it is. It's he's back in the boat. He hasn't rowed for about 10 years, so I think he was really looking forward to getting back and rowing with his mates. There's a few in there that are from the A crew gone by. They've won many gold medals between them, and I think they've just had an absolutely brilliant time in the summer, just rowing together, back in again, and I think they're looking forward to seeing what they can do this weekend.
So here we've got Appledore B in Zorn. They're doing a great job of coming around this mark, lifting up their kit nice and early. And then behind them we've got Grace. So Grace have gone with a decision to toss. So we're seeing Clevedon B tossing the oar there, bringing it round, really watching bow side pick up the stroke rate. This is the stroke side with the bow row, and he's back over. Well done, nice boy there. And then we've got the Emma Louise.
Like they said, that did look like it slowed the boat quite a bit around that mark, just watching them there. But they seem to be up and rowing again, definitely. But I don't think they're going to catch the one in front now. I think the rest of this is quite processional, so they just got to make the most of trying to get the best row they can all the way back in.
Yep, so we've got Emma Louise here, which is Hale B, and then we're watching Spy, which is Clevedon B, coming around. So tossing the oar, is it like, I feel that it's something you just don't do as much anymore? Like, I think maybe we're doing a better job of setting courses which aren't quite as tight and doesn't necessitate it. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't toss in the final yesterday, and it was quite interesting. Kate was like, she said, there was a lot going on into that first mark, and when she finished, she was like, was I supposed to toss? Was I just not told to toss and I was supposed to? I'm not too sure, or did we not want to toss? But we definitely practice it, but don't always have to use it. And I know we this week in the river did a few practice buoy turns and did some with tossing, some without tossing, and there isn't a lot in it, to be honest. And I think you've got to have a pretty skillful bow rower to be able to maintain that speed, and you got to weigh it up, haven't you? Are you going to lose energy? Are you going to lose efficiency by tossing? Are you better off just having them ease off and letting stroke side pull round? So you've got to make that decision yourself, and it's quite a skill. I've never rowed in the bow. I tend to be down the stern end of the boat. Well, I have rowed in the bow, but not a championships race or anything. But it's definitely a little bit more army up there. I think you used to row in the bow, did you not?
I did, yeah. I always used to think, like, because it's not like a skill we necessarily discuss really. We used to work on it quite a bit when we were being coached by Jeremy Two Brain Stonehouse, and he used to constantly UPS track us to sort of let us know. He was like, there are times when it is an advantage, but yeah, like you really, we sort of discovered that you had to be careful using it. So a bit of our thing used to be that as the bow rower, once we got past the umpire boat, I just used to shut down and just conserve energy and just start thinking about the bow toss, because the worst thing that you could do as a bow rower is go to toss the oar when you're knackered and then drop it on anyone's head. So a bit of it was safety, just give me 6 lengths just to organise myself. Also think about wind direction, because when you're tossing the blade you need to make sure that you're not turning the blade over into the wind where it's going to be taken out of your hands. You need to have the blade over, so it's kind of aerodynamic and efficient, and also less likely to drop it on your crew's head. So there was just quite a lot for me to think about. So Jeremy would always, and Malcolm when he was coaching us, would always be like, Esther, just easy, and then I would toss, because the other thing is you toss, and I used to try and get over in one stroke. That was the efficient, so also the other thing you've got to think about as a bow rower is moving your feet. So that was the other thing I was also thinking about going up to the buoy. I was like, where am I going to move my feet? How am I going to move my feet? When I'm going to move my bum? Because it's quite a movement there. You're tossing the oar, but also you're shifting your feet over. You're shifting your arse over onto the other side of the boat, and then you're trying to get in on one stroke to make it as efficient as possible. But then you're going. It's like explosive speed, but you've got such a short stroke. There's not a lot you can really do.
Yeah, I think as well you've got to remember that the cox has also got to sit over and sit the boat because you've got an extra person on the other side, and I know that sometimes that wouldn't always happen, so people are shouting at the cox to sit over because the boat's leading to the side, and then the stroke side rowers can't actually get their oars in, so you've got to think about all of that as well and just weigh it up. So yeah, sometimes it's easier. I don't know if Foy actually tossed in the final, did they? I don't know.
No, they didn't. No, nobody did in the women's final that I know. You know, we were focusing on the front of the race anyway. They might have at the back. I didn't clock it. So yeah, no, they didn't, because that's the other thing. Like, as a bow rower, then you've gone over, you work like hell to get around the buoy. You then have to get back over in one stroke, and then you have to explode with everybody else. So that's why I had my little rest working up from the umpire boat, because it was you need to, because that's actually really where you make the boat speed, isn't it, pushing away from the buoy. So we're just looking over here now, so quite clearly we've got Troy, that's Appledore A, they are well in the lead. How many boat lengths is that, Rhiannon?
Yeah, absolutely. They are, well in the lead, and sometimes it is easier when you're in the lead to kind of shut down and row pretty, and just cruise on in. And the boat sometimes goes faster the more relaxed you are. So they're just going to be cruising in here, trying to conserve as much as they can. You got Carradine behind as well. I mean, they are well behind, but they're not going to be worried. They're rowing so slow here. I don't know if you can do it. You're doing a little rate check there. I'd have thought they're about 30, if that. They're not going to be wanting to get, bang on 30. So, they're just literally just going to be tootling on in. They want to get to these next races as fresh as they possibly can. They want to conserve all of that energy and just row on in. And that can sometimes be quite hard for people to get their head round, that sometimes you've only got to come in the top two, and some people want to go out there and they want to win every single race, but that's not a good idea if your final goal is to win the final. So who have we got in the zone here? Is that Appledore B? Yeah, so this is obviously they've got their A crew as well. I don't think they'll be particularly happy that they drew their A crew. They probably don't want to be going out and trying to race their own club, but they're coming in third here. Well clear of Carradine, well clear of the one in fourth, so they're kind of in no man's land here, but they're just going to want to enjoy their row in now. They're not unfortunately going to make it through to the next round, but just be a nice place to have a nice little row.
It's always difficult, isn't it, when you're like in those like no man's land, like best one in the world, they're not going to catch up with Carradine B, but also it's very unlikely they're going to get overhauled by Hale. So it's mentally a funny place to be. So yeah, we're seeing Appledore A there very comfortably over the line and in for their bacon sandwiches, have something to eat. And what were you guys doing yesterday to kill the time?
Me and my friend Kate actually stayed over last night. Well, all of our. Yeah, Troy's just finished, so they've just finished, and then Carradine are going to be the next one over the line, and then they're going to want to have a nice little chill out before the next round. But yeah, like I say, in between time, I mean, we had a break of 3 hours before in between the first round and the quarters, so there was a big old gap, and it was cold, it was wet. It was quite a random day actually, but we actually walked over and checked into our hotel, so we walked right over to Fistral, the other side of Fistral, so that was quite good to keep moving and to kill some time. But I think it certainly would have messed with a few people yesterday. I think having that big gap, it was a strange old atmosphere. Like everyone was kind of huddled in all of under their tents and things like that. I mean, you guys on the stream boat must have been absolutely freezing, because 1 minute it was raining, next minute it was windy. Like it probably wasn't that fun of a place to be.
Yeah, we were all right until the rain started coming down, to be honest, yesterday. It did make me laugh. I came in and Coverack Club, what they'd done is they had just dropped their gazebo down, and they were all just like sort of in there, like sat on the floor, like cross-legged, like right underneath their gazebo. Like I was like trying to keep warm. It was quite a shot. So yeah, we're just here watching the Appledore B crew coming over the line. There we go, and that's Appledore B, and then we're watching Hale here, Hale B in the sorry, no, that's not. It's Hale A in Grace, just coming over the line now, and then Emma Louise, Hale B. So again, A and a B crew from the same club. Probably not delighted to have drawn their club mates, but yeah, they're coming in. At least Hale Selectors got this the right way around today, didn't they? Because if it was the B crew in front of the A crew, then maybe there would have been a few questions. It's been known many a time. So yeah. We're just watching the Emma Louise come over the line here, and then we can see in the background we can see Clevedon B, who are coming in Spy. So yeah, there we go. Well done Hale B in Emma Louise, and then we're just watching Clap Clevedon over the line here. Right, we can have a look behind me. I can see that race 9 is kind of out here already. Newquay, I've got to be honest, Rhiannon, the men are not doing such a good job as the women in the turnarounds. The women were on it yesterday. But we're just getting ready for race 9. The interesting crew here is going to be St Mary's A. I'll tell you about them in a minute, Rhiannon. Right, so Lou B, berth 1, Speedwell. Rivertine B, berth 2, Ada. St Mary's A, berth 3 in Hope. Falmouth D, berth 4 in Elowen. And then we've got Brixham A, 5, Manacle Bell. Hale C, berth 6, Bedhaven. So, to be honest, a little bit unknown here of what we're going to expect. We would expect Rivertine B to be up there, Lou B also, but St Mary's A. So I was here for the under-16s, Rhiannon, and St Mary's A, well, they just romped away with it. They were absolutely amazing, and they did it with 2 under-14s in the boat. But they're back here now for the men's champs to compete. They had to have a last-minute crew change just for the under-16s champs because one of the individuals broke his wrist, but he is now fixed and he's back in. And I was over on Sillies this summer and we were watching this crew train, and they looked really, really impressive. Their time around this course was in the 12:40s when they were here for the under-16s with 2 under-14s in the boat. And on Sillies, they've been making a bit of a mockery of the men's rowing over there this season. They've been absolutely running away with it. So they're Jay's pick for the championship. He wants to see them winning. He reckons they can do it. Whether they can overhaul some of the more established teams on the mainland, which have a little bit more, I think, like the advantage we have over here on the mainland is we've got a lot of racing, haven't we? And there's a lot of competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how an under-16s crew from St Mary's kind of keeps their heads together, really, against some of these men's crews when it really comes to sort of toe-to-toe racing. There's a difference between the psychology involved in being out in the lead and then racing against other crews who are going similar speeds to you, really.
Yeah, and I think kind of a nice thing about being an unknown as well is you've got nothing to lose, so that could actually work to their advantage. Like, they're going to be going out here, they're going to be the underdogs, in fact. Like, I know you said they're like a good pick, but I mean, I'd certainly never heard of them. I didn't see them at the junior champs, but I think sometimes when you are that unknown, you're like, well, let's have it. Let's see how we go against some of these more established crews, and they're going to be used to rowing in the sea, rowing out there, aren't they? So conditions shouldn't bother them, I don't think. And I'm interested to see how they get on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we will be back in a few minutes. We're just waiting for these crews to line up, so bear with us. We will be back shortly. Thank you. Okay, so berth 9. So this is what we were discussing just before we went off air. This one is quite open this heat. We're not really sure what to think of, but the crew that is Jay's pick of the championships is in here, which is this St Mary's A crew. Now, they were juniors. We have been told by Jay that they are now of age, hence they're not wearing life jackets, but they are literally just 16 years old. So this is the St Mary's crew that have been running amok amongst the Salonian racing this summer. So we're going to be interested to see. But again, what we're seeing is this outside lane. Manacle Bell, Brixham A going really well. Falmouth D and Elowin going really well. And whereas on the inside we've got Speedwell and Ada, Lou and Rivertine B, who are very kind of much locked in their own battle over there from berth 1 and 2, are they not?
Yeah, I mean it looks like a different race, to be honest. It's a bit disheartening, and for sure when you're going off the start and you're like, where is the rest of the race? But they're definitely going better from this outside burst. But St Mary's in the middle, they were right in the middle, so it's obviously not slowed them down. They're out in front, and it'll be interesting to see how, like you say, because they're all quite young, are they going to row sensibly? Are they going to be savvy about this and shut down and take it easy, or are they going to be taking it to everyone the whole way round? I'm just watching there. They've got quite a fast stroke. I don't know if you've just done a rate check. But
yeah, I have. They're doing 38 strokes a minute at the moment, which I don't think, like, that's fast, but I don't think it's... I think that's what the top teams will be doing.
Yeah, the men's definitely seem to stroke it a bit faster, and I think what you'll definitely see throughout all of the heats is the men rowing with this shorter, quicker stroke. I mean, they don't look like they're leaning back at all in the hope. They're very, very upright, very army. It seems to be working for them, and it'd be interesting to see whether they lengthen and shut down a bit as they get clear, but they certainly don't seem to be doing that at the moment. They're still quite upright. They do look like they have slowed a little bit actually since we've been chatting, but yeah, I'd like to see whether they ease their foot off the gas.
And then what we've got here closer to us is we've really got two crews like locked in here for the second position. So it's Falmouth D and Brixham A. Brixham A are in the Manacle, and Falmouth D are in Elowin. They're in the varnish boat on the inside. And Falmouth D just needs to be careful here, because it really looks to me like Brixham are beginning to move up on them, and they're going to want to keep that inside line. And sorry, Rhiannon, what was that?
Yeah, it's Speedwell are coming up actually. Like we saw them well behind just now, but actually I think they've probably got enough time now. They're coming up through, and they've got to just get that inside. They've got to get up to that 5 row, haven't they? And to try and get the water on this mark. So they've got a little bit of experience in that Lou Bebo. I think I can see Nathaniel there in the middle. I think. So he's going to be really driving them on and trying to get this inside line. It's going to be a bit of a bun fight to this mark, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. But you got to feel for Lou, because they've come out of that berth 1, and I think that's the disadvantage that we're seeing here. They are slowly overhauling the Falmouth boat and the Brixham boat that are on the outside here. Sorry, I'm getting confused by my colours here. But Falmouth D have done a great job here. But look, I can just see that Falmouth Cox. Like every now and again, he's just looking over his right shoulder at the Brixham boat. But I'm worried for him that he's not necessarily taking... Oh, there he is. He's just looked now. He's not taking into consideration what Lou are doing. And you're just seeing, all right, he's putting a bit of rudder on now. He's moving over now a little bit.
The door a bit, isn't he? He's definitely trying to shut that door to not let them up. And I think you can be a little bit clever like that. You can't weave in front of people, but you can certainly move over to try and shut that gap and not allow them up. And Speedwell does look like it's dropped back a little bit now. So I think it's going to be Elowin's mark. I don't know, actually, it keeps changing every time we look. Speedwell are putting a bit of a spurt on, but this is going to be an interesting mark. I mean, St Mary's are well clear, aren't they? They do look like they've shut down and rowing really steady now, don't they? But they're going to be well around and clear. But it's going to be an interesting call, this one here. What do you think out of these three?
Yeah, I'm glad to see that St Mary's have shut down and that they're conserving energy, that those young heads, that they've got... The great thing that they have on Sillies is they have loads of inter-club racing. So those, the young rowers that we're seeing come through from Sillies, they have got loads of experience. But look at what Lou are now doing to Falmouth. Oh, this is heartbreaking for that Falmouth crew, because they've worked so hard to keep Brixham at bay. But Lou, I can hear, it's actually quite hard for us to distinguish. There's 3 coxes pretty much in a line, and you can really hear those competing raising voices. They are absolutely going for those crews. They know what it means to have the first mark. And the umpires, they are up, they are paying attention, they are focused, because look at Speedwell there. We've got Speedwell, the Lou B crew. We have got Elowen, which is the Falmouth D crew. And then we've got Brixham A and Manacle Bell. They are all exactly in a line here. So this is very much going to be a coxswain's mark. Rhiannon, your experiences of cox, just talk us through what you'd be doing here if you were the Falmouth cox.
I'd probably be a little bit nervous if I was if I was a Falmouth cox, because you are totally relying on what the other two are going to be doing. I mean, I'd probably try and get them to slow a little bit and then maybe try and tuck in behind the Speedwell. But I mean, they're going to be so close to that rudder. They've just got to try and keep that boat moving, and they're actually doing a really good job. I mean, Speedwell they've slowed right down on that mark, it looks like, but now they're off again. That was actually really quite skillful from those coxes. I mean, I feel for the Manacle Bell because they were right on the outside, so they've kind of lost that there. But what a turn from Speedwell. I think it's Adele. I think she's coxing them there, because I know that the Lou crew didn't have any coxes today, so they're having to beg, borrow and steal a little bit, because they were coxing each other, and I think the Lou A crew are out in the next race. So fair play to, if that is Adele, fair play to her for that turn, because they've gone from fighting there to clear second, so that could have just got them that spot in the next round.
The real winners of that mark, though, were Lou. I mean, look at them now. They're like a length and a half up on Elowen, whereas when they went into that mark, they were a length and a half down. The other boat that did well there was Teen, Ada. Yeah. What they did is they saw the gap that was basically being created there by the Manacle Bell having to go on the outside, and they just slotted in. And now, look, they're having to go, you know, the stern of Manacle Bell, the rudder, is just about on the bow rower of the Ada of that Teen boat. So yeah, I mean, a great bit of coxing, yeah, from Adele. I absolutely agree with that. A bit difficult for Adele there, because wearing a Falmouth jacket, racing against a Falmouth D.
They're not going to be very happy with her, are they?
Yeah, for context, Adele rose for Falmouth, so yeah, but you know, these things. Sorry.
Yeah, I just thought as well there, it looked like Elowen was going to come up on them, but Lou seemed to have pulled away again now. Elowen are definitely trying to attack on the inside, but I just don't think they've quite got the boat speed. Lou seemed to be going away. I mean, they're certainly punching these strokes out, and they want to be clear of Elowen for sure, because they want to be in that second position and through to the next round. So be interesting to see if an Elowen can attack up the inside here, but they've got a bit of work to put in, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it is interesting to see that Lou boat. You're right. You know, they've got some rowers in there with some real experience and some real pedigree. Nathaniel's been a sort of like hallmark of the Lou A crew for the last couple of seasons. Do you know why is he in the B, not in the A?
I think I think some of them just didn't row. They weren't available for the first date, so I think they weren't in the crew, so they didn't put themselves forward for that A crew. And then when it got rearranged, they decided to just keep that same crew. So I could be wrong, but I mean, I believe that's one of the brothers in there as well. I mean, they've won a lot of gold medals between them as well, so they're going to be really driving on the middle of that boat. So it's, you know, lucky for that B crew, they've got that bit of experience, but you know, it takes 6 rowers, and just as we speak here, look just now like Elowen were attacking, but every time they attack, Lou just seemed to react and push on. They've got to just do enough. But this is a long leg, and I mean, from the shore, I mean, certainly we came down the steps yesterday and I was like, God, is the second leg really that long? Like, and it looks so far, and certainly when you're rowing it, if you're in front and you're trying to hold someone off, it feels like a long time. But it does give an opportunity to row through. But now Elowen are on the outside, so they're not going to make that attack. So they just need to kind of bide their time now, and they could then look to kind of do a tight turn and attack again on the last leg, but they've certainly got to put some work in to do that. What we saw earlier was that last turn does seem to be the decider, doesn't it? And whoever turns first or on the inside does get that advantage, and it's their race to lose, if you like, isn't it? They seem to pull away.
I've got such a vivid memory. I was 18 here in 2003, and I was in the A crew for the first time. I hadn't been selected for Sillies, and I was selected for Newquay. And I remember being here rowing with Caroline Hurd and Janet Zimber, and I can remember us, a bit like that St Mary's crew. Like I was young, and I can remember working so hard at the first leg, and then I hit the second leg in Newquay, and I just died on my arse. And we were lucky that day. We managed to hold in. We had some experienced heads in the boat, but yeah, that second leg in Newquay killed me that day. It's a little bit scarring. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to move now on to race 10. So we're actually going to see Newquay up here. So we've just seen their B crew racing against Falmouth. Let's see what they can do here. So we got Cadgwith D, berth 1 in Pegasus, though I imagine that'll be Spy. Newquay, berth 2 in Emma Louise. St Ives B, berth 3 in Zorn. Then we've got Carradon C, berth 4 in Grace. We've got Devon A, berth 5 in Troy. We've got Porthleven A, berth 6 in Amazon. So we're just going over. I can see that they already look to me to have gone. They are off the start, so we will bring that one with you as soon as we can. But again, just to stress, I'm just having a look over at that St Mary's crew. Very relaxed. I'm just going to do a little rate check, see where they are now, see what they're up to. They are doing... okay, right, I'm apparently 37, but I think, to be honest, I'm a little bit too far away to judge.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite hard to see, isn't it? Like, you're there 1 minute and then actually the rollers are coming in and I just couldn't see the boat at all. So fair play for trying to do a rate check there. But they are cruising, aren't they? They're happy. They're well in front. It'll be interesting to see this next race. Like we say, they had a couple of the Newquay crew that is their usual A crew that aren't in there. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. It looks like there's a boat that's well clear in front. It'd be interesting to see who that is.
Do you know what? I'm quite interested in this men's open senior category, actually, because like the women, like I felt yesterday, like we knew you, Foy, Helford. We pretty much knew the 1, 2, 3. I don't think I could call that in the men's.
No, I think you've definitely got to think. You've got the top 3 from Sillies, haven't you? But we'll see here what Lou are going to do. I think Carradon are definitely in the mix, and Falmouth, they've been racing each other a lot this season. But then you've got the likes of Charlestown, Appledore, St Mary's even. Like I say, there was Helford. I don't know what Helford are up to.
I do know a little bit of intel there that essentially their crew that came, was it 5th or 6th at Sillies? Or was it 4th? I can't. 4th. Yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry, Helford. They got a few of them here, but they haven't been able. They had like a cycling trip booked or something. So quite a few of them are away cycling somewhere. And it's the same a bit. I know the Jungle Drums from Falmouth. It's a little bit the same as well with their men's A crew. But I think that, to be honest, that leaves a better bit of competition for us because we genuinely just don't really know what to expect today. So kind of it's all to play for, and that's like an interesting thing in like the psyche, because so much of our sport, isn't it, it's kind of like goes for the form book. So to have a competition where we don't really know what the form book is maybe it is the day for St Mary's A. We'll see. I'm not quite as convinced as Jay is. Right, yeah. Lou and the Emma Louise here. So in this heat, this is heat 10. So yeah, we've got Newquay, Emma Louise. They've come out of berth 2, but it does not seem to have bothered them. And then if we look behind, it's quite hard for us to draw. Yeah, we think it's Carradon C in Grace. But we've also got Troy there, which is Devon A. And beside them, like pushing them on, we've got Porthleven A as well. So actually, though the first place, I mean, Lou look like they're romping away with this, I think second place is Grace here. I think we're expecting Carradon C to come through into the quarterfinals. But Amazon and Troy are keeping them honest here.
Yeah, they are, definitely. I mean, Lou are well clear here. You've got Kate Bourne coxing them. Like I say, they're trying to beg, borrow and steal some coxes. So she was excited to cox them here. So she is coxing this Lou crew, and they are in front, and they are looking pretty comfortable. They don't look like they're working hard. And like I say, you've got some really experienced rowers in there. So they'll be rowing clever. They'll just be doing whatever they need to do. I mean, they haven't particularly bigged themselves up recently. They've been saying that, they haven't quite got the crew that they normally have, but they certainly seem to be doing a good job of this race. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on later on.
So who have we got in there? We got Harry, definitely the 2-rower. He was in the World Championships team.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
then
Matt.
we got Matt in 4 with We're confident in that. And then is it Joe in
I
stroke?
think it's Joe, yeah. Joe, one of the brothers, and then the others, I mean, they are facing the other way, so I don't necessarily know them. Sorry, lad.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. But I mean, I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing half of their World Pilot Gig Championship winning team, and then we're seeing a few others. So, you know, this is a fantastic opportunity for Lou to bring on rowers, because actually getting an opportunity to row in an A crew can be quite changing for a rower and with your opportunities.
Yeah, and it's good to bring them on, isn't it, for sure. Then we've got the Carradon Sea crew here. That's quite a mixture of super vets and masters in there. They're looking very controlled as well, and again, they're not going to want to tire themselves out. They're going to want to conserve as much energy as they can. A few of them did the Great River race last week as well, so I'm not sure if they're going to be a bit tired from that. They won the fastest gig up in the Great River race, and you've got a bit of rowing pedigree in this boat, so they're going to be pretty.
Is that Martin Langdon? Is he off the start?
That is Martin Langdon. He is off the starter boat, and he is in that boat. So he likes to get around the clubs a little bit, Martin, but he's back where he started in Carradon, and certainly seems to be enjoying it. He is a man that loves his rowing. I think he lives and breathes the rowing, and he is always there. I mean, he doesn't live local. He lives in St Column, I believe, and he's there at every training session. He's doing, he's happy to cox and help, and, he does love it. And he's given his time up to do the starting as well, and I think he did do a good job. I don't think he could have controlled the kind of advantage from the outside berths at all, but, it's a bit of a thankless task doing the starting, and someone's got to do it. But he certainly said, I can't complain about the starting if I'm not willing to put myself forward for it. So he certainly did that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I got myself on this boat. And then we got Porthleven here. I just want to give them a little shout out. What an absolute push they've just put up against Troy, against Devonay. Like, it was. I was watching them as you were talking there, and honestly, like, I was like, I thought Troy were going to get the inside line, and they just pushed and pushed and pushed. Like, that was a magnificent bit of rowing from them. We also got Zorn, St Ives just going around the buoy there. So yeah, going up this second leg now. It looks almost like that crew in the Amazon, the Porthleven A. They're pulling away, yeah. And Porthleven is like, right, I've got this working thesis. I've got no statistics to back this up whatsoever, Rhiannon. But like, I think, like, when you look at, sometimes like people say to you, like, why do you have in rowing like these sort of like dominant clubs? Why do we see sort of like your Lewes and your Falmouths and your Carradons and your Foys doing as well as you do? And I think a lot of it actually has to do with our facilities and our ability to row. Like, the brilliant thing about rowing out of, I mean, I can only talk because I row currently out of Foy and I have rowed out of Falmouth, but the brilliant thing is, like, in Falmouth, genuinely we lose 2 sessions a year usually to a south-southeasterly, which are the only conditions we can't row in. Like, it's a massive advantage, whereas Porthleven here, I work with Dave Redding, who rows for Porthleven, and it sometimes can be a real challenge for them just to get out the harbour. They can lose sort of like weeks of training just to a certain wind condition, and it does give clubs such as Falmouth and Carradon and Foy, like Lou to a lesser extent actually. I don't think they've got the same sort of shelter that we have, but it is an advantage, isn't it?
Yeah, they can row in the river, but obviously there's only so far you can go up and down the river, and only at certain states of the tide. So I mean, the advantage that Lou get is obviously they row in the sea. So whereas the clubs that row in the river, they don't get as much sea training. Lou certainly do, but at Carradon, yeah, we barely lose. I think this year we've lost 1 or 2 sessions, that's it. And when there's white horses on the river, you can still launch, and you'd only take certain crews out, but you certainly don't lose much time. And it must be really tricky for Porthleven. And I used to row, I'm from Cadriff, so I used to row there, and there'd be some sessions where we'd be launching, you'd be thinking, how the hell are we going to get out off this beach? And they row from St Anthony actually in the winter so that they can get out. But it's definitely tricky if all of your gigs there are back in the harbour, back in the harbour at Porthleven. I don't know if they actually row anywhere else. I don't know. Do you?
No, not to my knowledge. Some crews go up a little bit to Stithians Lake. The problem with Stithians Lake, though, you can get out on it. It's only 1 kilometre long, so it sort of limits the sessions you can do. Like in Falmouth, it's a bit gross actually. They've stopped using them, but we used to train under the sewage tanks, because under the sewage tanks under Pendennis Castle there, we could generally like sort of tuck away and we could get a good session in. So it was a good session. We could get a workout, but big lungfuls of sewagey air. It was it was a real blow. Yeah, absolutely. It was like, well, we are getting a row in, but I'm not sure I'm enjoying it. But yeah, we can quite often, high tide is where you can get up Penryn River, so we would avoid the sewage row as much as possible.
It looks like Lou have pulled away even more now. They're just cruising, aren't they? And same with the Carradine crew. They look like they've pulled away from Amazon even more. So I think the hard thing at Newquay as well is that everyone does get to that first mark quite tight. So you really have to keep your cool, especially if, you have to believe in yourself and believe in the stroke that you're going to row away from those crews if that's what you're aiming to do. And then on the second and the third legs, you definitely see the crews pulling away. But it's certainly tight. If it, close racing up to the first mark, so you've got to kind of hold your own and believe that you can then row through them later. And these two in front seem to be well clear of third and fourth, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And what quite impresses me about you Carradine women as well is like you all cox, don't you? So like Leanne, Naomi, they're coxing. Kate's out here coxing Lou. You've done a fair bit of coxing. Not sure Nat's seen Nat cox, but
no, Nat doesn't do a lot of coxing. Yeah, generally, I mean, Nay and Leanne they're doing a lot. Nay's coxing the B crew actually, and a lot of the lads in the B crew, she used to cox in the A crew and has won a lot of medals with them, so it's kind of like reunited again. I think she's enjoyed it, and yeah, Leanne's done a lot of coxing. They haven't done as much coxing at the World Champs as they have done in the past, because they've just realised how much it takes out of them. And actually, until they didn't cox at the World Champs, they realised actually, yeah, it is tiring. And Harriet, who coxes the men's A now, she'll certainly say as well that coxing that boat, and especially when you're up there trying to vie for the championships, it takes a lot out of you, and you really have to think about whether you can row and cox to the best of your abilities. And it was one thing that we were actually a little bit worried about this weekend, is that originally we thought that the coxers were going to have to cox and row all weekend. We thought that the weekend was going to be mixed, so they would do all the first round yesterday and then all the finals today, and there was going to have to be some tricky decisions about whether the coxers still cox those boats, because they felt that could they then give everything that they wanted to the rowing. So I'm glad that they didn't have to think about that, but yeah, it's definitely a consideration, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we came to the same conclusion actually a couple of years ago, because it's just like, it's things like I wore a heart rate monitor a bit. So I was pregnant in 2020. I know no rowing came of it, but I was coxing the Falmouth ladies crew, and we did mini sillies. I was pregnant. I was like 4 or 5 months pregnant. I was coxing the women, and my heart rate was like 160. It was basically like just adrenaline hit in. So you don't think about it taking a lot, but it's a bit like we are now, to be honest. We're sat on this this boat, isn't it? Just being on the water does take quite a lot out of you. Yeah, we certainly decided for World Champs a few years ago that if you're competing in the A crew, you can't get through. So yeah, what are you making of this tussle between Amazon and Troy?
They look like they're actually giving them a bit of a race on, and I know obviously they're not going to get through to the next round, but they're going to want to get the best result they can. And I think this goes, oh, look out, oh no, he's caught a crab. Quick recovery then, he needs to get back in and get that oar back in again. Come on, mate. Here we go. And they're going to want to get the best result they possibly can, so they're going to want to push to the line, aren't they, and get bragging rights. Who is it in the Amazon over there?
So we have got Devon in Troy, and then we've got Porthleven A in the Amazon over there. So yeah, good news for Devon though. The way that the sun's hitting the sea right now, we haven't got the best shot of them. So I think they could have got away. If we hadn't said anything, they could have got away with catching that crab. But yeah, and then we'll just have a little look back. We can also see the crew of the Zorn here rowing really well. St Ivesby coming in. They also must be a club that struggles a little bit to get out when it is wet and wild. Because I live close to Port Isaac, and you don't. I see some of their rowers from time to time. They don't seem to. They often report that during the winter it's just very difficult to get out, and you can go up onto the lakes, but gets a bit dull lake rowing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's nice to have it's good to be able to have a second location that you can row, but it's definitely limiting if you're rowing on a lake, isn't it? You can't go as far, and even in the lakes, they tend to be quite windy sometimes, so it can be quite bleak, especially up at Stithians as well. I know I think it's dubbed like one of the windiest places in Cornwall, actually, and we've certainly had some flashboat regattas up there that have been very windy and very cold.
Pretty miserable, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they do a bit of sliding seat regattas up there as well. Right, okay, we are going to come off air very briefly, and then we will be back on with race 11. So that's 11 out of 12. We are nearly there. We're nearly on to the quarterfinals. Thank you very much. Okay, race 11 out of 12. We've got Carradon A in berth 1 in Elwyn. We have Selcombe A, berth 2 in Manicle Bell, Flushing Mile A, berth 3 in Bedhaven, Riverfoy Rowing Club, Sea Crew, berth 4 in Hope, Clevedon A, berth 5 in Speedwell, and then St Agnes A, berth 6 in Ada. And it was quite interesting to see Speedwell and Ada, the Clevedon and the St Agnes crew, Rhiannon, they came right out to this berth 6, didn't they?
Yeah, it looks like they were almost in a different race, and actually Ada in berth 6 looked like they were at least half a length up on Speedwell in berth 5, so they're wanting to make the most of that advantage. But I mean, we can expect to see Carradon up and gone here, but they are in berth 1, so it'll be interesting to see how they go from in there. This should be a real bit of a coast for them, but at the moment berth 5 and 6 are going, aren't they?
Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, we can see Carradon now so that we think Rhiannon and I had a little look at this heat, and we're finding how we think Carradon will probably be up and gone. That's what we're expecting. But I mean, we're expecting something from Selcombe A, so they're in Manicle Bell. I think what's quite good for Selcombe is they've actually got Carradon beside them. So in a way, they're driving them up this first leg. It's a very odd psychological game, isn't it, Rhiannon? When you're like the inside berth and you see the outside berth going. I mean, never is that more extreme than on the silly St Agnes start line, isn't it? You have to basically be able to just park all of that and like just row your own race and let the results sort themselves out. Just have a sort of like faith in the process, really. And that's exactly what Carradon and Selcombe have got here, because they're on that inside line. We're seeing Speedwell, so that's the boat of Clevedon A. They are in the lead at the moment. I'm just going to have a little check of their stroke rate and see what they're doing, because it doesn't look too stressed, but it's also 36, so that's not, but it's looking a little short there. So it's going to be hard for them to maintain this. Manicle Bell just look like they've lost contact there with Carradon a little bit there on the inside, did they not?
Yeah, they've dropped right back. Carradon are up and gone now. I mean, they're going every stroke. It's pretty obvious there's an advantage on the outside here. So they'll have known that from yesterday, and they won't be stressing. But I mean, now we've changed angles as well a little bit. They're well clear. They're going to try. They're going to be up and gone, and then look to shut down at some point, aren't they? But they've got a pretty snappy stroke. Them and Falmouth both. They seem to stroke right up in the high 30s for most of the race, a lot of the time. So, and they seem to be doing that again, but they'll probably be rowing a bit slower in this round than what they will be later for sure, because they're going to want to again conserve as much energy as they possibly can. So Harriet's just coxing them along here. I mean, they're well clear now, aren't they? But definitely looks like it's going to be a bit of a fight for second place, because they're going to want to go through. At the moment, Speedwell's got that inside line, and they seem to be going pretty similar boat speed to Ada. But unless Manicle Bell have a big push, I would have thought Speedwell or Ada are going to get this mark.
Yeah, so Speedwell, we've got Clevedon A here. You know, they're going really well. It's like they're really getting shoulders back in the boat, actually. They're back, maybe not. I'm more looking at their bow rowers there, and their stern, it's a little less so. Whereas Ada, we've got quite a sort of short, powerful stroke there from St Agnes A. But Carradon, they're showing a clean pair of heels now. I did stroke rate them a little while ago, and they were 36, which I think for a crew as fit as Carradon, that's pretty maintainable. Especially like I was saying this yesterday, isn't it odd? Like winter training, someone gets you to do a pyramid, and they're like, you got to do 2 minutes at 30, and you're like, oh, I could never do that. And then come the summer regatta season, you're like 36, feels like the dream.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they certainly look in control here, don't they? They're just cruising along. They row very kind of in front of their bodies, very controlled, and they're just going to want to cruise in this one. I think they've been training really, really hard, and I think they want to up that result than what they got on Sillies. They were third place, and they're all a young crew. I think the oldest one's late 30s, and the rest of them are like in their 20s, and they've got a nice vibe in there. They've been having a great time this summer. Most of them did that Red Bull competition last week as well, and I think they've just been having a cracking time. So for them to get a really good result it'd be brilliant to see.
I had a funny day on that day because we went down there because we're going to spread our friend Penny's ashes, so it was quite funny. Went down there, saw everyone, they were having a lovely time. We were like nice chats and seeing lots of people. It was lovely to sort of catch up with people, and then they were like, what are you doing? We're like, we're off to spread ashes. It was a little bit of a tone change between our afternoons, but it certainly looked like everyone was having a lot of fun down at that Red Bull event. Did you see any of it?
Yeah, I did. We were watching it online. I was meant to row in it myself, but luckily Sarika, who stepped in instead, is a much better swimmer, and it would have been a lot more to their advantage than what I would have done. But no, I had lots of kid logistics to be juggling. But this race on for second is really tough. I mean, the Speedwell are definitely going to get the mark here, but Ada, they've got very similar boat speed, so they're not going to want to lose that boat speed to get around the mark. Who's Ada? St Agnes. Yeah, so you've got St Agnes against Clevedon here, and it'll be interesting to see how well Speedwell turn, because they're going to want to make the most of this advantage. See, the Cox has got a little GoPro on as well, so they're going to be wanting to watch that back. I'd be interested to see what they're saying, how he's keeping control of that crew, because I bet he'll be a bit nervous going into this turn.
He looks pretty cool though, so just a little reminder people, we've got Clevedon A on the inside and Speedwell, and we just heard there the umpires quite clearly calling that Speedwell have the water, and then we've got St Agnes A on the outside, they are in Ada. So for those who may be watching our sport for the first time, the umpires six boat lengths out from the mark will call who has the water, and then they say, oh, Carradine have tossed, that's interesting, just maybe doing a little practice there, and then it's imperative of Ada on the outside to keep clear of Speedwell. It's also then going to be an imperative of Manacle Bell to make sure that they keep clear of Ada. So just like we saw in the last round, actually, I think Manacle Bell could be the winner out of this scenario.
Well, yeah, I mean, Manacle Bell coming in hot here. They've got to be careful on that inside, because they're not going to want to impede him. And Speedwell are going to want to go. And, I mean, that's pretty close. That's a bit close for comfort there. But he's done a very good job of getting around that mark without impeding them, hasn't he? And now they've just got to get up. And they look like they're even trying to take the inside on the Speedwell. Speedwell are kind of up and gone now, I think, but they definitely, I don't know, Ada are moving on the outside. This could be an interesting second leg, because they're all going to be gunning for this second spot. I mean, Carradine are sitting pretty, they're gone, they've probably shut right down, but this little tussle here, I mean, Manacle Bell, like you say, they're coming up for the inside. They're going to want to make sure that they're not clashing oars. There's not really anywhere for them to go. They need to try and hold that line where they are now, and they're going to want to give their rowers the best possible opportunity to row through these two crews, but they're going to have to work for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Selcom that Cox did a cracking job there, but he's almost now got himself in a difficult position because he's sandwiched between these two crews. So he's sandwiched between Clevedon and St Agnes, and he's struggling to find his water. Also, I can just see a little bit of panic coming in to the Manacle Bell, into that Selcom crew. Like, his calls now as a Cox are going to be absolutely fundamental. Like, he just needs to settle his crews, just like sensible heads, because they are St Agnes in the Ada. They do seem to be losing it a little bit. They seem to be dropping down on that outside. It's definitely Selcom now bringing the fight to Clevedon, who are on the inside. If we just have a little look back as well, we've got Hope here, which is from River Foy, that's their C crew, and then we've got Budehaven, that is Flushing and Myla A. So yeah, they're just a little further back, but it really is. I mean, Carradine, Cleeset Hills, they're off. They're no problem there. But the question is that what's going to happen? Who's going to get the second position, really? Because, I mean, we're going to have Speedwell, the boat that's from Clevedon. They are going to get the water on the second mark at the moment. But, you know, the Manacle Bell, that Selcom boat, he really put himself back in the fight there with that excellent buoy turn, did he not?
Yeah, he absolutely did. I mean, it'd have been interesting to see that on the drone as well, because it was almost executed to perfection, wasn't it? He really made the most of that little gap that was left, but without impeding them, and that those rowers in the Speedwell are going to be thinking, oh my God, I got to pull this one out now. But they do seem to have pulled up a little bit more now, actually. So they've got that advantage, obviously, of going around the buoys. So they're going to want to use that. But we've seen some good coxing from the Manacle Bell already. So they're going to want to keep themselves in contention, and then they're going to want to put their foot down that last leg, aren't they? Because they don't want to go home yet. They want to be rowing again in the next round, don't they? So it'll be interesting to see. Ada here on the outside, they do seem to be holding their boat speed, but they do have to go the scenic route round this buoy, don't they? So this is going to be a bit of a tough last leg, to see who gets that second place spot. But Speedwell from this angle do look like they've pulled it out just a little bit as we're coming up towards the 6-length marker.
Yeah, Clevedon have maybe just gone that little, oh no, we can see again from Selcom there, actually, they had a little kick on there. So, I mean, the thing is, Salcombe will be well motivated. They're both their bow side and their stroke side are looking at other boats, aren't they? And St Agnes, like, to their complete credit, I thought they were beginning to drop back a little bit, but they haven't. They've rallied and they're back in this one. So it's very, very tight. And just looking at the body language of the coxes here, you can see that Salcombe cox is kind of like forward. They're braced. They're not moving, which is really important for a cox, because actually moving will put the brakes on, will slow your boat. But anything, I think we're seeing actually here, I think Salcombe are doing this. I think Clevedon are dropping away. Whether they're going to do enough, a little bit too late, plausibly, it's difficult because of the line that we're looking at, but it really looks to me here like Salcombe have put the burners on, and they're going to want this because they're not just fighting for pride here, they're fighting for that second place in the quarterfinals. And it's coming up. But for people who sort of worried about us getting through it today, we are doing a lot better today. It's 20 past 11 now, and we are one race away from finishing. Oh, what's going on in the Salcombe boat there? Oh, we got Aura. Yeah, we've got. I don't know what. He's always. It didn't look like he caught crab. Oh, he's back in. He's good. Oh, that's going to be disappointing for them because they were doing so well. That could have just give Clevedon an in there. But yeah, sorry, I was saying, like, it was 1:30 yesterday when we finished the first round for the women, and we're not far off that now. So it looks like we're two hours ahead of schedule at the moment, and obviously the tide will be dropping that little bit. So yeah, Salcombe. Oh, Clevedon have done a cracking job there to keep the inside line on that buoy, and I've got a feel for St Agnes here really, because they had to hold that outside line, but now as they turn from home, they really are at a disadvantage. We're seeing them lose a good couple of lengths there. I don't think what would have been your suggestion there to that? Do you think there's anything that St Agnes Cox could have done, or is that just racing?
They're in the one in Ada. It's really tricky when you're on the outside. You do have to try and, you want to try and keep that boat speed. But again, you're relying on what the Coxes do on the inside a little bit as well. But I mean, he did keep the boat speed, but he did seem to go a lot wider than the other two boats again. So going from level to then behind is going to be a bit of a blow for them for sure. We've got the Hope coming up here now, though. We've got the Foy Sea Crew, I think that is. They're in fifth, aren't they? But it does look like Speedwell are going to hold this, which is Clevedon, so they've done a great job to hold this off down this last leg.
Yeah, apologies, we're going to have to leave that race there as we loop back to see race 12. But at the moment, Clevedon look like they've done enough, but honestly, if you are from Clevedon, if you are from Swanage, or if you're from St Agnes, you need to get yourself on Fly Sellers now and give your crews a clap over the line, because they have done a sterling job. So we now have race 12. We are having Rivertines C, berth 1 in Troy, Falmouth B, berth 2 in Emma Louise, Bristol A, berth 3, Grace, Memphis A, berth 4, Pegasus, Coverack A, who we think are probably going to be the class of the field here, berth 5 in Zorn, and then we've got Cadgwith B, berth 6 in Amazon. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I've got a little bit of intel of Falmouth, a bit like you, Rhiannon, with Carradon. Falmouth have been a little bit affected by the rescheduling of this event for just 2 weeks. So they have brought a couple of their C crew rowers up to row in the B crew. Ferg Muller, who was commentating with me yesterday, he was very excited about the fact that he was rowing some young boys in the C crew, and then it all got rescheduled and he's found himself bumped up to the B crew. So Ferg's back in the Falmouth B crew. Also with Sam Fortney, who he got injured just before Sillies and had to drop out. So he's had a long summer of trying to heal after an injury. So it's lovely to see Sam back in the boat as well. And I know Sam will be dying to get back in the A boat in the long term. So yeah, this event really is quite open for us this year, like Rhiannon and I were saying earlier on, because we generally don't really know, where they're going to be. I'm just trying to have a little duck down, Rhiannon. I'm just trying to see if I can see. Oh, I can't. I could not call it between Clevedon, St Agnes, and Swanage. We're just a little bit too far away for me to see. But it looks to me like, St Agnes, bless them, they're still in it. They're still fighting like heck. We just heard Speedwell, the Clevedon boat, came second, so they can be really proud of that. Followed by Manacle Bell, followed by Ada. So that was Speedwell, that was Clevedon, followed by Swanage, followed by Ada. Dead heat, apparently, between Manacle Bell and Ada. So, yeah, they did. St Agnes crew did a great job after being in that a slightly more difficult position on the outside of that buoy. So I'm just having a look here. We're looking at, so this is race 12, and they're sort of, we're just trying to see. We can see that there's quite clearly a boat in the lead, but I can't, as we sort of whisk up to it, we're expecting this to be Kovrak A in Zorn, and it's certainly a varnished boat. So I would imagine, not confident in this, but I think we're seeing Kovrak A in the lead here, and then the boat that's in 2, and they're not a million miles away from Kovrak. Couldn't call it at the moment. Zorn's leading the race, yeah, we've definitely had that confirmed. And then Emma Louise second, so we believe that's the Falmouth B crew in second, which is kind of how I would have called it. Grace is currently in third, but we couldn't be confident on that one. I know, I mean, we really appreciate boats being lent here, but maybe a few less varnished boats for the commentators.
Yeah, it's hard to tell it's definitely hard to tell who's who. You can just about see, like, by their painted names, can't you? And but they do certainly look quite similar. So you've got Zorn out in front. The Emma Louise has come up quite a lot on that mark though, so that's a bit of a nifty turn. It's quite. We're just coming back to join the race, so we can't see very well from here. But they do look like they've gained a little bit on that leading boat, haven't they?
Yeah, and they've got, this has been a bit the hallmark of the racing this weekend, but they've got that inside line which has been so helpful on the first mark. And that just allows them to put Kovrak under pressure. But you know, Kovrak, they're a very experienced crew. They're kind of like, it's horrible to say, they would probably not appreciate this, but it's a bit like bridesmaids. They've been there or thereabouts for years. We haven't quite seen them pull off, you know, the top step yet, but they're certainly experienced. They've done many Newquay and Sillies finals. So yeah, we've got the Kovrak crew nicely in the lead, followed by the Falmouth B crew in the Emma Louise. We've then got quite a stretch back to Grace, who is Bristol A, and then I can see Spy, so that is Mevagizzy A, and they are having a right tussle with Amazon, Cadgwith B, and then bringing up the rear, we've got River Teen crew in C. So yeah, having a look at Kovrak here. What do you make of Kovrak's style?
Yeah, I mean, they look very controlled, don't they? I think they're just in the lead and they're just kind of cruising, I think, to be honest. They look controlled. I don't know what the rate is, but I wouldn't say it's up there like 35, 36 like some of the others. I'd say more like, I don't know, 33, something like that, maybe a little bit slower even. But they look like they're just chilling out and having a nice time. But yeah, Emma Louise is up behind them, but again, they're not going to want to be going that fast, are they? They're going to want to conserve that energy. They've got a few very experienced rowers in there, so they're going to be trying to make sure that they keep their heads in the boat and keep their cool, aren't they? So they're just going to want to cruise in, these top two crews, but they are certainly not rowing their hearts out, are they?
No, they're not, and that's what the Falmouth crew are trying to do at the moment. Is you got Simon Moses there, you got Sam Fortney, you got Fergus Muller. They're very experienced rowers. Like I say, Sam's rehabbing after an injury, but Fergus and Simon, some of the older rowers, like they're in there, like, you know, they're trying to bring on some of the youth. They're trying to bring rowers on into the A and B crews. You know, that's their kind of like focus in the squad at the moment. I did do a little rate trek on Kovrak, and as you suggested, Rhiannon, they're doing a sort of 31 strokes per minute, so that's pretty relaxed, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They've got Willow there stroking. He's a flashboat rower. He looks like he's in control for sure, and they're just leading the rest of them on. The two lads in the middle don't look like they're even breaking a sweat, to be honest. So they're just having a nice time out there. Falmouth the same. It's interesting. I do find this two hands on top style interesting, especially if not everybody in the crew is doing the same thing. I don't know what you think about it, but it's definitely interesting, like you say, if you've got a mixture of those styles, whether that affects the flow of the boat and kind of and you know how people click together as a crew, because it is quite a different style to rowing with that mixed grip.
Yeah, I mean, we changed over, so the 2018 winter to the 2019 season, we were working with Penny Shooter, and we decided to do it, to go two hands on top. We were sort of convinced by the science, if I'm honest, but also part of it was almost like wanting a new challenge, in that it was a bit different for us, and it really broke our technique. Most of us in the Falmouth A crew have been rowing for like 20 odd years, and like we had some pretty set bad habits there. Actually going on top broke our stroke technique right down. But we all did it, so I can't really comment on the mixed techniques. But I know my sister's rowing the Helfer boat, and she stayed 2 hands on top because that's just what she's become accustomed to now. And she just says it doesn't really cause any problems. Like they've played around with it quite a bit, and the thing Lena says that it really stops you sort of like feathering in the water. That's it really keeps you. I mean, you can see Fergus Muller there. It may even like suit the men's rowing a bit better than the women's, to be honest, because of that shorter stroke. It just allows you to use that outside arm just that little bit more effectively. So it also discourages you from using, you don't really see it in these top crews, but some of the crews you see, a lot of like bicep rowing essentially, and you just can't do that 2 hands on top. So yeah, we didn't find it was a problem, to be honest.
Yeah, well, here we go down that last leg there. Kovac had a little push off that buoy, I think, just to kind of get out and clear and away, but settled back down again. And I would have thought these two would just cruise on in. It's certainly strange when you're rowing in, and especially if you want to get in the final, for example, like probably Falmouth B crew do, that if you're just going to sit there in second, you just have to conserve that energy and interest in having people chatting. I mean, Emma Louise had a bit of a surge on there. It does look like it's running quite well in this sea. Every now and again it's just having a little surge forwards. Does look like it's surfing a little bit, doesn't it? Seems to come up on Kovrak and then pull back again a little bit, but Kovrak can't go, just going to want to row on in, and I would have thought that these two crews are going to want to be having a push, certainly to get into the semi. They're kind of in that like unknown territory, if you like, isn't it? Like somewhere between the top 6 and the top 12, that you just don't know what people are doing till the day. And a good draw, a good berth, a good row, just a little bit of luck might push them in to get that result that they want. But they certainly both look, I mean, the Falmouth career look like they're sat upright, just not really doing a lot at all, do they? They look like they're off for a little leisurely row. But the Kovrak crew have pulled away. They have got that longer stroke, a bit more of a flow, which does seem to be letting that boat run on without putting much effort in, quite efficient.
Yeah, I'm just watching Simon Moses in the 5 seat of the Falmouth boat. He's a rower I know really well. I've done lots and lots of mix with Simon, and that's definitely not a man under any pressure whatsoever. Absolutely
not. They're just putting their oar in, doing the bare minimum that they possibly can, aren't they? There's no point in beasting yourself, and sometimes actually rowing without that pressure can just let the boat flow on and actually run quite nicely. But they just, I mean, certainly like the 3 rower as well, they just look like they're just putting it in, just tapping away and not doing a lot. Simon looks like he could be rowing with one hand, to be honest. He's not doing a lot at all.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for Simon. He's like, he's one of those people that like I feel like he's always been around. Like I can remember him as being an 18-year-old and his mum bringing him down to the gig shed and being like, my boy wants to row. It looks fun. He couldn't row at all. I mean, he came out with us, and like, here he is, 20 odd years later, still rowing, still loving it. It was, one of those just great characters of our sport, and very much like loved by Falmouth Gig Club. He's just, he's been a real stalwart, always there, happy to row with anyone, always got a smile on his face. Like Gig Club needs people like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you've certainly got characters in all the clubs, maybe the feistier ones, and then you've got the more kind of steady eddies who are there and are just as important in the crew, and perhaps just get on with things in their own time, just get their head down, get that training done. And he certainly looks fit, doesn't he? All of these rowers in the top boats are certainly going to be putting the training in, but both of these crews are just rowing in, just tapping along a little bit. They'll have just had a nice little row, so they'll want to get back in and fuel up, because they could well be out in the first quarter, couldn't they? It sounds like we're not going to hang around too much on the quarterfinals. We're going to try and get it moving, and the tide's obviously going to be a little bit later today, but we don't want that long gap like we had yesterday. So they're going to try and get it through as much as they possibly can, I think, while we can.
Yeah, the guy Dave that was from Teen here yesterday was on the boat, and he said, look, living on the River Tean, like you've got to be a bit of a Zen master at the tides. And he was telling me the thing is that we're moving from Springs to Neaps. There's going to be quite a different stay in the tide, and obviously it's dropping back a bit. He was like, it won't be as effective. So yeah, we can confirm Falmouth B and Coverack are very comfortably through there, and then yeah, we've got Bristol here, so they're rowing Grace. They're blooming pretty relaxed as well, to be fair to them. We've got Amazon, they just put their blades up as they got over the line. That's Cadworth B. They're quite a race on there with Mevigazzy A, who are in Spy. And then just casting my eyes back, we can see River Tean rowing Troy in as well. So that brings us to the end of the first round at Newquay today. Like I say, we're pretty positive about this because we have spun through quite a lot quicker. Oh God, can't see the time on my watch. Yeah, we're a solid 2 hours earlier than we were for the women's event yesterday. So yeah, we are pretty hopeful that we're going to see as normal a format as possible on this day where you've got this condensed format, and we're trying to do the first round, the quarters and the semis in one day. Steve, the drone man, has just plucked his drone out of the air, so yeah, we're officially in. So we'll just watch the last of these crews just coming in. And this sort of going back to the conversation we were having earlier, though, Rhiannon. Like, I often think like it's a funny thing. Like, you know, I know you've been like involved in selection and that sort of things in the past, but sometimes like what's really difficult about selecting a crew for rowing is it's like you can do all those things. Like you can look at someone's erg test, you can look at some of their row, like all the positions they'll row. Like there's quantitative things, but then there's always somebody. Like, and there are people that I've rowed with in the past who like, yeah, they might not perform in terms of like being on the ergo and stuff, but they're like A, they're boat movers, or B, they're just quite good for like crew congeniality.
I think because there's 6 of you, obviously gig rowing is very much a crew sport. You can't row that boat by yourself, and I've definitely not necessarily been in crews, but I've definitely been aware of crews, and there's probably been some like, you know, almost like super crews that have been put together by like top rowers, whether they've moved clubs or whatever, and decided to all row together, and on paper you'd have thought they are world beaters, you know, and then actually just don't gel, whether it's like a mix of personalities or what. Like it's just as important to have that kind of continuity within the crew and a positive vibes as well. Then it's going to be just as important, well, not just as important, but it's going to be certainly important to the overall performance, isn't it? So there's so much to think about, and I think selection is really can be really contentious for sure, but it's there is going to have to be a little bit of opinion based on there as well. But you've got to think it's mental as well as being what your physical attributes are, and you know the best crews are probably happy crews, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Right, okay, talking about happy crew, we're going to go in to have a cup of tea. So we're delighted on the Stream Team boat. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we look forward to joining you again for the quarterfinals this afternoon.